What up, everybody? What up? What up? What up? What up? Check into the stream. Got a new camera. Hope it looks all right. I think I got to zoom in a little bit, though. I think for the camera, we got to, like, zoom in some and get this thing dialed in a little better. Because it looks like I'm so far away. There you go. Could be a little better. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. There we go. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Still got another day of news, another day of things going on. But I hope you guys are having a fantastic afternoon. You get the good morning vibes. Yeah, it's good afternoon. What's happening today? We got some news to go through. Mostly like Republican crying from the GOP, but some other things that are going on too. We'll get to it at the very end. Thank you, Pippi. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. FBI COINTEL program exposed. Not even close. Oops, hit the wrong button. Sorry. Not even close. But we're gonna get into it all and what has transpired over the past 24 hours. Thank you. Everybody check in. Say hello. Say hello. I'm Andrew Mercado, Mercado Media. We're going to be just going through the news today and anything else that's happened. Any breaking news that goes on. The FBI is corrupt. Yep. I mean, it is now. James Comey's kind of finding out when he touched too close to the sun. Now, I don't forget what he did to Hillary Clinton. I was against that in terms of, like, I didn't vote for Hillary. But I don't forget that. That was a alley-oop. That was a GG's. James Comey came out with that. Came out with Hillary's emails, right? So, kind of karma for me. Still a bad precedent from this administration, though. But if you expect me to really feel bad for James Comey, like, why? You know what I mean? Maybe he shouldn't have. You know, it's kind of karma. Shouldn't have messed around, shouldn't have fucked around 10 years ago. But he did. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's bad, though. In terms of Trump weaponizing the DOJ. But, you know, I'm not there's better people to, like, for example, like Jimmy Kimmel's fight. That's a better fight to put points into than James Comey and, like, really die on that hill. But and not for me. But check in. Let me know where you guys are watching from. What city, what state, where in the world you're tuned in from. Just read something that his daughter prosecuted lots of PDF. James Comey. Hello from California. Hello, hello. Merc, you had an interview with a WAPO reporter about ICE in Minneapolis. Are you interested in their contact information? Sure. Send all messages to the Facebook page. Send it all to the Facebook page if you haven't. Let me pull up Facebook here and everything else. Let me get it all established here. And the whatnots. Click that. Let me get the broadcast up. Broadcast camera. I don't know why this is going so slow now. Like, what in the heck? Hello from North Cal. Hello, North California. Yeah, I'll turn that off. Hello, hello. You lived in Champaign, Illinois for years. Hello, what up, Florida? What up, Rhode Island? What up, Minnesota? There's Facebook. All right, Facebook's up. Have a happy weekend. We'll just be hanging out. Nothing major happening on my neck of the woods this weekend. Nothing really going on around here for me. Hello, we got Florida tuned in. What up, Rhode Island? How can you tell if someone is a MAGA Republican? They lie nonstop. Always. Appreciate that, Papa Cal. North Cal's your home. Someone on Twitch is where I am. Nice. Hello from the Catskill Mountains in New York. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Israel's all over the place. We had Netanyahu made a speech at the UN today. Many world leaders walked out. All right. So we got the information that's come in from the select committee on January 6th now that it's taken over by Barry Loudermilk. Okay. And this is what they're working on, which is wild. Because even in the notes of these agents from January 6th, it literally tells you that they were sent after the chaos had started ensuing. Okay, there you got all right, so the MAGA talking point about January 6th is that because they never will accept their own actions ever. And this is never ever. That's what I'm telling you. Don't try to ever stress yourself out on debating one. because they're never gonna, like, they will have to come to the table themselves. It's like an addiction. Okay, you have to treat MAGA like you do drug addicts. You can throw all of the truth and the information in their face. They will reject it. They themselves have to come back to reality. Okay, so like if you're losing your mind because how can these MAGAs they're like drug addicts. They're in a cult. Okay, the same mindset, same process. So I, I don't even like, even in the screenshot that they show here, it pulls it up right there. This number includes agents that responded to the Capitol grounds, as well as inside the Capitol, the pipe bombs and the red truck that was believed to contain explosive devices, as well as CDC ADCs. And it literally says it right there. But and MAGA, this is the same political party that put out Project 2025 in advance and said, we're gonna put out our plan. It's bad, and we can put it out there for everyone to see, and we still have like a layer of deniability because of our stupid people that we have that will lie about the facts. So it's written right there that they were as a response. But in the MAGA gang likes to say that January 6th was a Fedsurrection because they called first it's Antifa. First it was Antifa, and then when they realized, oh, that's kind of stupid, but we'll still say that one, but that one's dumb. Let's go with the fact that it was feds. Yeah, it was the feds that were out there that were instigating the riots and whatever, which makes no sense because Trump was the president. That's the other thing I'm noticing MAGAs are doing is they're atrophying their brain of like anything beyond like 2 weeks ago. Ironically, because Trump works in 2 weeks at a time. And I think MAGA brain only allows for that, but then can only remember like significant events over the past 5 years, but nothing else. And then they choose their narrative that they were given by their MAGA podcaster or media person, and that's their narrative. And that's what they went with instead of the actual facts of January 6th, and that it was Trump supporters and Trump's own voting base that went to the Capitol and stormed it to try to stop the certification of the vote for Joe Biden to win the 2020 election. We're still on this. Okay? MAGA is not giving it up. They're not going to let it go. They're going to continue to call it a Fedsurrection. They're going to continue to call it blah, blah, blah. Trump supporters riled up by FBI undercover agitators. No, they weren't. They were riled up by Donald Trump himself, who primed them before they walked down to the Capitol, in which he lied to them and told them that he was going to go down to the Capitol with them, but never did. So you can keep lying, Devin. Devin's lying in the chat. Look at him. Trump supporters riled up by FBI undercover agitator. MAGA is easily tricked. Is that your take? Oh, is that your take? That's what it is. Oh, it was really the feds, but like I'm also against MAGA. You sound like an idiot. You sound like a moron. Trump supporters sent themselves there. Trump told them to go there. And then he not only did that, but then told them to march to the Capitol after he brought them to the ellipse. You're an idiot. Dumbest shit ever. If that's what you want to do, to like have a layer of cope, of like layer of separation. Agitators are arrested on video and released. Who? Which ones? Yeah, the MAGA agitators that went in and were doing shit. So you're putting agitators on the Fed. So you believe that this was a Fed insurrection. So you believe the MAGA story while also trying to present yourself as like anti-MAGA. What a clown. Watch the videos of agitators getting arrested and then, okay, what do you mean? Getting arrested and then released by Capitol Police? Which ones? Which ones? FBI Cointel program. FBI does this a lot, right? Right. What a layer of cope. What an absolute layer of absolute cope for January 6th. If anything, you're arguing that Donald Trump's FBI was corrupt during his presidency of January 6th, and then we got him again? Is that the argument that you're making? That he had corrupt FBI out in the crowd that were instigating for Trump, and then now they're about to do it again? which MAGA is using that as like, well, they're using it as like the left FBI, which is what this article is about. Just like the FBI entrapment after 9/11, riling up Muslim youth to buy fake Stinger missiles to shoot in plane. You're done. You're so done. Thanks for playing. So done. We're not gonna have that. You're gonna have like this that while Trump's approval rating is through the dog shitter, okay, and his base is like literally they can only hold on to like Charlie Kirk right now, the ghost of Charlie Kirk actually, and random cultural war news stories that they're given. They're trying to present themselves as like this. They're still trying to detach themselves from the they, because then MAGA can say they still. They're doing it. They're the ones that are pointing us against each other. Meanwhile, it's literally MAGA. They is MAGA. They is the Donald Trump administration. And the corporations, as we learned, aren't really, I guess, over the Trump administration, as we're learning. You would think, I don't want to hear that either, that there's like the deep state is Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the swamp that he is creating. It's just like Mussolini. Mussolini literally drained a swamp, like physically literally drained the swamp, actually. But everything other Trump's rise is very similar, or not like completely similar, but Trump's upcoming and MAGA's upcoming is similar to like Italy or like Spain. I got to do some more research on Spain, but I've been doing a lot of Italy and how they became fascist and Mussolini's rise. But ironically, you got MAGA using fascist Italy's rhetoric and some of their slogans, which is wild. But this is the story, though, that came out. FBI bombshell, 274 agents sent to January 6th. Many later complained they were political pawns. So this is the Just the News, which is, what's his name's? Guy, John Solomon's News, who now this Just the News platform is on Real America News. That's where this is featured often. It's a absolute right-wing rag news source. So we're not taking this at face value. I'm going to be fact checking it and shitting on it. Okay. But this source is bad. You don't go to this source for information. Okay. This is like Russian state media. When we'd watch like the media monitor. Right. This exists, in which you can watch the Russian state TV. Okay, and you can watch it directly from the source. It even has a warning label. Okay, but you can see what they're talking about. That's similar to like what reading this news is like. Okay, you're not getting this as like, oh God, what a revelation. This news source is lying, and it's up to us to figure out where the lies are or what the lies are, and that's pretty obvious. We already found the lie, but we're gonna break it down anyways. So FBI bombshell, 274 agents sent to Capitol for January 6th. Many complained they were political pawns, hidden for 4 years. After an after-action report on FBI's involvement in January 6th, riot found by Director Patel shows dozens of agents feared that the FBI had become woke and liberally biased. The FBI became woke, guys. That's why I had to ban that Devin fuck, because I know what he's doing. I know what they're trying to do. I'm smarter than you. You're not going to dupe me or my community. And you're not going to make the argument that the FBI is like both woke and liberal while also being a fucking COINTELPRO. Operation Deep State. Get the fuck out of here. If anything, this is exactly where the FBI is heading into now. The FBI is going to become an arm of this, of everything that Devin fuck was saying in the chat. It's projection. That's the actual concern. Is, in my opinion, stories like this are coming out and loser ass Republican politicians are pushing it to get into the algorithm to prime everyone, because that's how the Republicans work. They prime people for propaganda. They don't actually run off of any policies. It's all propaganda. They're priming them because they're going to be putting the FBI out into the crowds to instigate in the future. That's coming. When it comes time for midterms, when it comes time for the 2028 election. They're putting this, they're getting this dumbass news out here because people only read headlines. People don't research anything. They don't literally click images and read what it says. They will just be like, oh, the feds, yeah, there were feds in the crowd on January 6th. And then that will give the priming of the brain, so that way in the future here that's coming, when we have Kash Patel's FBI in crowds instigating and doing shit, you'll be like, oh yeah, well that's normal. Do they do that? Yeah, they do that. Uh-huh. Meanwhile, in 2020, during the riots and protests, you had instigators in there, but they were just like white nationalists or just like Nazis that were in crowds and instigating. But you're going to likely have, in my opinion, the federal government doing it. And they're putting this story out there because people are stupid and they're going to remember this. Right wingers are stupid, in my opinion. Sorry. Just MAGA. But like a lot of motherfuckers that voted for this shit again, and I'm not gonna forget that. You're in my realm, but boy, if you voted for Trump in a third time, boy, you still gonna get smoke. It is what it is. But a lot of people, atrophy shit in their brain because I don't know. Honestly, I still haven't figured that one out yet. But we have a instance of now the MAGA is in control of the subcommittee on January 6th, and they're putting out half-baked, half-true information, even that is easily fact-checkable in the information that they're putting out. But again, this is the same GOP. This is the same Republican Party that put out the Project 2025. This is the same Republican Party and GOP that lied about Epstein files in your face. I mean, they can do it, and they do it. They're learning they're learning from the Russians. They're learning from the Israelis too. But they're really learning from both, I think. The Russian propaganda strategy and then the Israeli messaging, I guess, for like how to navigate around fuckery. And they're learning because it's so stupid. You don't even have to try because people don't read. They'll watch a TikTok or they'll read a headline, and that's all you need to do. So people that will just read this and they'll say, oh yeah, and if anything, it's a confirmation bias, because for years you've had right-wing influencers, MAGA influencers, Trump MAGA themselves, that have told people that it was a Fedsurrection. The feds were in there. The Ray guy, whatever the fuck now. Can't remember what's the name that the dude, Ray Epps. Remember the Ray Epps? Ray Epps was out there. It was the feds. So they already have that. That's what I'm telling you. All right-wing shit is on propaganda. They prime you for it years in advance, and then they hit you with some bullshit to like justify or like to confirm your biases that you have, and it's on purpose. And you're being driven by algorithms, and I've noticed that a lot. Is like in the right wing, you are dicked around by the algorithm, and the algorithm is just a bunch of loud ass podcasters copying each other's posts. And they're all the same, copy pasting posts, and then they post it out on the same date together, so that way it like makes it appear as if this is like a loud story, or if this is like something everybody's talking about. Then they have bots. Their shit's full of bots that like their comments, and then it can appear skewed. According to chat, I'm gay. I'm sad now. Okay. Ray Up was a hardcore ultra MAGA. I know. They all were. They all play this deniability game. MAGA plays deniability. They do it. We don't do it. And if we do get caught doing it, deny, deny, deny. That's MAGA. So I already told you guys since the beginning not to waste your time with these people. And there's no point. They'll come out of it eventually. It's not going to be quick. It's going to be hand on the stove and it's going to burn. They're going to get burned, and then they're going to learn the hard way. Okay? They're going to learn the hard way. Either one of their family members will get deported because of the massive Latino community that voted for this fucking loser. They're going to find out the hard way. Or you're going to have farmers or people that work with their hands that lose their jobs because of DEI or whatever corporate deal that Trump made personally, mob style tactics of like of business in the background. People are losing their jobs. If if you don't fall in line with what the right wing says is a martyr and who you need to pay the ultimate respect to, and you meme on it, then you are like lose your job too, and like you have their cult base like screenshot your stuff and like send it to your employers like we're in the Soviet Union, and they're all like that already. So there's literally no point. There's no point in talking to them or arguing with them. And I'm not a debater anyways. I tried it a little bit. I did a little bit. Wick had me on. Shout out to Wick TV. Had me on. I did the best I could in a couple debates, but I don't debate. The only people I would debate would be people slightly right than me and left of me. There's no point in debating MAGA. They're the same. They haven't changed in 10 years. No new ideas. No new information. No new thoughts or anything. It's the same exact bullshit. And then all dick suck for Trump, in my opinion. That's all that's left with MAGA. So there's really nothing valid there, or nothing worth giving. And if anything, it's like you're breathing life into this increasing fascism. And if there are conservatives that are interested in a post-Trump America of having conservatism around, then they need to step up. Got to step up to the plate. It festered in your shit. If there was a rise of communism, I know the liberals would be put in gulags. I know that for sure. And it would be nothing liberals did, because liberals fight with leftists more than anyone. But say like there was like a communist takeover or some fictitious bullshit that would happen or whatever, and like we started doing authoritarian communism or whatever. Whatever. I'm just riffing, just coming up with something that we're seeing. This would never happen in America, but we got authoritarian communism, and the corporations are getting broken up, and the poor CEOs are all getting whatever, and like all of the billionaires are like losing, they're done, and like they're being thrown into gulags and shit. And then you'd have like a rise in like fascism, or like the right wing would get all round up, but they'd come for the liberals right away and blame us for this shit. So if you're like a conservative living in the real world that we're in, and not that fictitious world that I had to make up about communism, we have it on the opposite side, and we have fascism for real, actually. Okay, not in the militant kind yet. But you like, as if like it's almost the same argument that you see conservatives had for January 6th. It wasn't a real insurrection. They didn't have weapons, even though they did. It wasn't a real coup. They didn't like use the military. Didn't use the military because like they have an idea of what a coup is in their head. And even if it was the military that did it, they would still cope and make up another excuse. Oh, well, that was the Obama generals that were still left. They did it. It would be something. It would be literally something. Like, say if Trump literally sent the military instead of his supporters at the Capitol, they would have still coped. Yeah, dude, they should have denied the order or something. It would have been on them and not Trump. So if you're a conservative and you're against this administration, you need to speak out louder than anyone else. And if you don't, then we're all cooked. Okay, and that's why I feel like you're conservative and you're against Trump, and like you feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. It's life. It's life, I guess. That's just what it is. I mean, like I told you, it came from the Republic. It's in the Republican Party. Not everybody is Republican or Democrat in America, though. That's got to stop. It's ridiculous. It's like Republicans or Democrats. That's not how it works. So I'm telling you, there's like conservatives and people that aren't. And like the people that are conservative but aren't identifying with MAGA need to start speaking and like start saying, I'm against this. And it's going to come with repercussions. You're going to lose all your MAGA friends and family, but honestly, you'll be fine. I mean, you'll learn, you'll figure it out. There's more people that you'll find new family, I guess. And you can do that. Maybe not blood, but you'll find new community. It is what it is. Those people are in a cult. And you want to go down in that ship, then you go down in that ship. I'm not. I'd rather have my dignity. Because this shit every single day is getting worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. I don't know. I think a lot of Republicans are waiting for the Republican Party to come back. It's not coming back. It's not. Not unless you fight for it. You being conservatives, I'm not fighting for that shit. I'm not fighting for that broke ass shit. But if you're a conservative and that's what you believe in, then you gotta step up to the plate. Otherwise, you're done. I mean, I think you're already done. I think you're cooked. I think the Republican Party is no longer like, if you even think you're against Trump now, you're gonna, like, by proxy, either you can't vote because you just can't vote for the Democrats, or you're gonna be forced to because there's literally nothing. There will be no choice until we get more than 2 parties, in which we have multiple parties, but everybody in America knows there's no shot in hell outside of the 2 parties. You can try. You can vote for them. You have the freedom to vote for other parties. You can do that. I have. Are they going to win? No. No. Not until we get more. So, I mean, you got a choice to make, and it is what it is. I play with the rules that are given. I'd learned that in the military. Some of the best leaders I had when I joined, and that's what helped me get through it, and that's what helped me have my honorable, and I didn't have any issues in the military. Play the game. You got to play the game that's given. You got to play the card. You got to play the hand that's dealt. You can't, like, live in a world that you don't have. Okay? You can try. You can think you can. You can pretend to. That's why I play video games, because video games are worlds that aren't mine, and I can do what the fuck I want in them, because it's a fake world. But in the real world, we got to live within it. So, like, for example, until we get 5 parties, or until we get 3 parties that are worth a damn, or until America decides we're done with 2 parties, I already know what it is. It is what it is. And people that are on the left should understand that too. And you got to primary these Democrats that are like Republicans, that are not Democrats, but they're like sitting there and they're not doing anything. Okay? So, but right for now, for me, the only way out of this is the Democratic Party. But, like, it sucks so bad because you have Democrats in there that are just, again, just Republicans. And they're not progressive at all. They're not even willing to fight against this. There's some that are, which is good to see. And we've highlighted them when they do, when it happens. And that's good. And we'll see, I guess, how much it increases as we get closer to the midterms. And I'll highlight them and lowlight them depending on which ones, right? But yeah, I mean, for me, it's I voted Republican my whole life, and I don't care that I have to vote Democrat now to fight against this. Resistance, I guess. I don't know. Until America is fed up with the 2 parties, until we get a new hand to play, that we get backing. Which, honestly, there's enough billionaires to make it happen. Right? We have enough billionaires to make a 3rd, 4th party have power. I don't care if Taylor Swift does a party. Have the Swifties party, whatever the fuck, like, there's billionaires out here. And they're not going away. So we need multiple parties. And until then, we're fucked with these 2. And the Republican Party has chosen complete fascism with their lying. Their militarization of the police, full-throated, full support of Israel. Now just recently starting to, like, consider Ukraine. But even then, that just seems to be words. Russia, I think, declared war on NATO. Or Russia is, like, poking the bear, our bear. But you got a lot going on in the Republican Party. It doesn't seem interested in anything other than politicization of current events and stoking political violence, actually being the ones actually doing it on a daily basis. And they've been doing it for years. I mean, this is not a new concept. This is what the Republican Party's been doing. And then look at Donald Trump reposting it. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into the story. The FBI secretly deployed more than 250 plainclothes agents to the U.S. Capitol during the January 6, 2021 riot, an operation so disorganized it unleashed searing frustrations among many of the FBI's rank and file that the Bureau had lost its core competencies to wokeness and allowed its employees to become pawns in a political war. According to an after-action report kept from the public for more than 4 years. Whenever I hear a right-wing source or a MAGA say wokeness, I immediately cringe and know that they're not being serious. I immediately know that it's not a serious source. That's why I told you, I preface this, that this source is not a serious one, but MAGA is you got the president posting it and all of them just running with it, right? But it's not a serious, it's just not serious. Sources of FBI agents and personnel, many from the Bureau's premier Washington field office, sent anonymous complaints to the after-action team detailing how agents were sent into an unsafe scenario without proper safety equipment or the ability to identify themselves readily as armed officers to other police agencies, the report obtained. Okay. That's Trump's Department of Justice, maybe on purpose? Because he didn't want it to stop? Why would he want to stop his own insurrection? He wanted to physically stop the vote and then empower the Republican senators to have it sent back to the states with the physical stopping of it. In which he did get the stopping. The stoppage was like, what, 15 hours of delay of the vote, the certification, which Mike Pence had no power to send it back to the states, no matter what. His job as the vice president at that time was just to certify what the states sent. That's how it works. So anyways, that's a whole lot of nothing other than verifying what we already knew, that he was trying to absolutely allow the most amount of destruction ever. If you watch the actual January 6th committee, which we did, and MAGA and a lot of Republicans did not, because they coped and were just saying it was Antifa, then it was the feds, and then now here's your FBI story to try to distract from the Epstein files bullshit. After sharpieing bullets. And notice how only when Kash Patel became the FBI director did shooters start engraving bullets. Like, what the fuck is that? Anyways, the most persistent complaint was that the Bureau during the James Comey and Chris Wray era had become infected with political biases and liberal ideology that treated the protesters from the summer 2020 Black Lives Matter riots far differently than those arrested in the aftermath. Yeah, the feds were taking people away during the Black Lives Matter riots, and on January 6th, they got all the way into the offices of the politicians. They got into the U.S. Capitol building and were like throwing shit and shit on piss on the walls. And on Black Lives Matter riots, people were taken away into black sites. That's the difference. What are we talking about? The FBI should make clear to its personnel and the public that despite its obvious political bias, for sure, it ultimately still takes its mission and priorities seriously. One employee wrote in a stinging review, it should equally and aggressively investigate criminal activity regardless of the offender's perceived race, political affiliations, or motivations. And it should equally and aggressively protect all Americans regardless of perceived race, political affiliations, or motivations. What a bunch of BS. What a bunch of actual BS. So the FBI just wasn't militant enough? What is this even arguing? The FBI they weren't like killing people, I guess. Is where this administration is the line, I guess, for like what's woke and what isn't, I guess. That urged the FBI leaders to identify viable exit options for FBI personnel who no longer felt it is legally or morally acceptable to support a federal law enforcement and intelligence agency motivated by political bias. What a bunch of bull. It's always the inverse. So if anything, the inverse is going to be true. of a bunch of FBI agents that are, then that's probably why this story is happening, because there's a lot of FBI agents that are going to be leaving this administration based on the illegal acts that it's taking. And then also a lot of FBI agents and other government workers were fired because of DEI and Doge. Everything they say is a projection. Never forget that. One agent suggested that problem extended beyond the Bureau to DC U.S. Attorney's Office, indicating a more widespread problem with political bias. Political bias. The same one that literally ruined. That's why this is so fucked, because James Comey himself destroyed Hillary Clinton. Okay, and when I was young and stupid at the time, I thought that was based, because I voted for Trump in 2016. So when we had James Comey come out and like fuck up Hillary Clinton with the emails, like, what are you even arguing? That same James Comey? So just the stupidest arguments that they make, and then they run with it. They don't forget that we love James Comey when early 2016 Trump supporters, because he stopped Hillary's ability to win with the fucking emails. So stupid. Anyways, currently the U.S. Attorney's Office is dictating what it is that gets investigated. This is a dangerous precedent, because we can barely get them to prosecute investigations that clearly meet thresholds needed for federal prosecutions. However, their willingness to conduct a search warrant on someone's life for misdemeanor seems ridiculous. It is unreasonable for the FBI to conduct investigations involving misdemeanor violations at a federal level. It is not our role. Many of the agents' feedback focused on the Washington field office and its culture. The Washington field office is a hopelessly broken office that's more concerned about wearing masks and recruiting preferred racial sexual groups than catching bad guys, said one worker. Masks are bad, but yet we must wear masks. We have to. Masks is woke, but yet we have to wear them. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun in the Republican world? Everything's being hypocritical in all ways, every way, all day, every day, everything, every single thing. Is woke in liberal ideology to wear mask, but yet we have to wear mask to protect the identity. Added another, I wish you all would pay more attention to our safety than what type of masks we wear. If you're going to deploy us to a riot situation, then give us the proper damn safety equipment, helmet, face, shield, protective clothing, and training. Yeah, the FBI doesn't break. Anyways, the FBI does not break up riots. Whoever they're getting this is some FBI agent with feelings. When the fuck, if like even during 2020 and all the riots that happened, the feds were like connected to the police in terms of they were like right behind, and like they had the federal agents with real fire with real, but they were in, I think it was Homeland Security, I think it was HSI, and the state police. Then there could have been like some FBI agents, but they're not there. They're not in the front like clearing out riots, or when things get out of hand. It's the police, the local police, or the federalized police, or the sheriffs, or whatever police force. Like we had our DNR doing it in Minnesota, the Department of Natural Resources. That's a federal agency, and they were doing it. The guard will stand there. I still haven't seen the guard clear people out. Still haven't. But they'll stand there, and then the sheriffs will usually come in. But I haven't seen like a wall of FBI agents, and like they're like with riot shields and shit. Like that is insane. That's not good. That will never happen unless. I shouldn't say never. Not in this administration. Who knows? But this administration's grabbing 3%ers and Proud Boys and putting them in the ICE. ICE is different than the FBI, obviously. It's important to know your federal agencies. In this administration, it's going to become very hard to see the difference, and that's understandable. I'm not gonna push against that really, because they're using him on all this for all the same reasons, really. But I mean, to suggest that like the FBI would be out there quelling riots is insane. That's not what they're used for. They use there, if anything, you do like during riots or during mass protests, they don't have people in there instigating, at least not right now. Not until Kash Patel figures out how to turn this around and start doing it. But they're in crowds. You got feds in crowds just to assess the situation, because obviously, like after it's over, they got to go report what happened. They got to blend in, but they're not out there instigating it. Those are the white nationalists doing that. Those are like the Nazis that are in there doing it. They're in there to just observe. And then if anyone's caught doing arson, or if anyone's doing that, then they can grab them quick, because they like got the fucking earpiece low key in. They usually have their hoods up. They got the earpiece in, but they're in there. They're not instigating it. At least not right. I haven't seen it to this point. When we got Kash Patel, Trump, feds now, all bets are off now. That's why I think this story exists, is because it's going to be happening. And I'm really concerned about that, actually. Yeah, the white nationalists, specifically in Minneapolis, that burned the AutoZone. That was like the first building that went. That was like one of the first ones that started on fire. And then it went from there. And that's also another strategy, y'all, that you need to pay attention to, is a lot of MAGA stories are just things that they did themselves to then like launder, almost kind of like mini false flags. Okay, oftentimes you'll hear like stories that conservatives will say that aren't true. It's stories that they made up specifically to fit the political narrative that they're trying to say. Like 90% of the time or more. Or like when they're looking for violence to happen, they will make it happen and then try to blame their opponent on it. That's just like a common tactic, because they're stuck in a political narrative for a reality, and life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't fit political narratives. So in order to make it fit the political narrative, they have to take action and then do the thing. That's what false flags are. But like for Republicans, they do it like mini ones. Trump's doing big ones. In my opinion, still can't verify it yet and with facts to back up my case, but I think that they're doing a lot of noise to distract from, one, the Epstein files, and also, I mean, you got Pete Hegseth announced that all the top generals are meeting next week. We're gonna have big news next week. Buckle up. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if if all of them are about to get fired, because that's what Nazi Germany did. That's what all dictatorships do. All of their existing top generals and shit in their militaries, they get shit canned or killed. Or the ones that aren't gonna do what's necessary, if you know what I mean, in terms of like when it comes time for Trump to pass the power, they're gonna be like Trump MAGA. I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm concerned. I don't know what to make of it, but it's not normal. Or it could be that, or it could be that we're going to another war. We're about to go to war with Venezuela or Mexico, which I think it's Mexico, or like South America. I definitely think America is going to be moving south for our imperialism. They were playing more NFL games in Brazil. That came out today. I'm just like, in my brain, it's more than just like war when it comes to advancing culture. Like, if you guys ever played the game Civilization, okay, in Civilization there are multiple ways to win, not just with conquest and your military. Oftentimes people try to do that and then they get shit on. They build up their military, and then they try to invade another player's country, and then they lose bad. They lose really bad. All their money is bad and everything. But you can win through culture, and you can win through like tourism. But we're starting to expand our influence, like American culture and like American shit is spreading south into like South America. We're blasting Venezuelan boats without even knowing what's on them. And like they're hyping it up in terms of like JD Vance is hyping it up. So I have a feeling, again, no facts yet, no facts, just feelings right now about the military and the interest. And plus you'd be able to sell it to Americans. They already have been priming it that there's an invasion at the southern border and that we have the national security, which I'm sure there is instances. I'm not going to argue that there's not instances of individuals that cross the border that have bad intentions. Is it the majority? Nope. Nope. Is it individuals? Yep. But to cast a broad stroke on it and label it invasion and put razor wire buoys in the water and just inhumane shit is disgusting. But I have a feeling that because it would be, you're not going to be able to sell a war for Israel again. You saw how that went. Trump, they said they bombed something in Iran, which I still don't trust that, but that's what the administration told us, that they just, remember that, completely obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program. So we better not hear about that again because it's gone, right? No more. But I feel like if you were to try to sell another war, it would be like, even MAGA would be against it. And like you couldn't sell them on another Middle Eastern war. That's like out of the question, I think. Even though Trump wants to go back to Bagram and take Bagram back in Afghanistan. So you have that fact also taking place. I don't know if we're gonna conduct operations again, but Trump wants Bagram Air Base back. Trump's push to reclaim Bagram Air Base cites proximity to China's nuclear program. Whatever. So Trump wants to go back to Afghanistan again. That could be what it is. Also, that we're about to start staffing Bagram and go back to Afghanistan again. That'd be like the only Middle Eastern route I see. But I don't see any type of popularity at all around a war for Israel, like to fight Israel's enemies that Israel wants so badly. It's not going to be to stand up against Russia. If anyone's thinking that, stop. This isn't calling up the generals to go to Ukraine. That's not going to happen. That would be based. Oh boy, I'd support it, but it's not going to happen. So it's likely they're going to be, the worst case scenario would be they're all shit canned and we're really going into 30s Germany. We're really going there. So that's the worst case, I think. Well, it depends on your worst case, but that's obviously what some are thinking. War to the South America war, which would probably be able to sell that to Americans better and sell that idea better to losers. And then you got the fact of Trump wants to reclaim Bagram Air Base, and it could be that. So I don't know. Those are the three things that are going on in my brain for it. But with this administration, it's really, I mean, you can only really predict what to get us here, and everything that we predicted, any influencer that's tried to warn about the threat of the Trump administration that we have now has been right, unfortunately, not in a good way. But now that we're in it, though, it's like we have Project 2025 and their goals that they're trying to accomplish, and you can use that as a roadmap. But that's why people are, I mean, it's like, oh, here you go, my bad. 47% done. 47% of Project 2025 has been accomplished already. Everything that's happened that's been nuts has been in this fucking thing. And I can't believe it. Some of the most obvious, like, we're gonna name it even something that sounds bad. That sounds bad. And then because people were caught in their cope, I guess, or whatever, of last year, because I don't know, Democrat messaging is cringe, I guess. I don't know. So it sounded ironic or something, and people just were like, oh, it's got to be made up. Or you know what? I bet a lot of people thought this was hyperbolic. I bet you a lot of people last year thought that people that were trying to sound the alarm about this were being hyperbolic and were like trying to make it bigger than what it was. And no, It was literally it's written. It's written, foretold that this is what we're going to do, because Trump didn't have policies, so the policies had to come from somewhere. Every time Trump was in an interview, Trump, what are you going to do for this? What are you going to do for that? I don't know. We got some concepts though. I don't know. I think we got some ideas. Some and then they're like, okay, what Project 2025? What's that? I don't know what that is. I don't know what the Project 2025 is. I never even heard of that. Just a liar. So I think that's what it was obviously Trump denied it. A lot of people on the left don't watch right-wing content at all, obviously, because like I understand because like, why would you? But at the same time, it creates a level of like, I don't know, you're not fully informed. I'll just put it that way. Okay. Or you're not watching enough information, because this one was an obvious one. And it was on purpose, because I think a lot of people are distracted by their algorithms these days. It's very easy. You would think with all the information we have access to with the internet, we have AI now, that it would be too easy. It should be very easy. It's not though, because people are distracted. And it's not like there's like one specific thing you need to pay attention to, but when you scroll on your social media and you see 1,800 different news stories, people tune out. They get overwhelmed. But this one was not something to miss, because this laid out the Republican agenda from the Heritage Foundation, which wrote it. Stephen Miller all over it, which you see him now. You see Stephen Miller a lot now, don't you? He's all over this. He helped write it. So if America collapses, I will, obviously I'm going to do the best I can to survive through it, but I'll never forget that we had a document that told us what was going to be the downfall of America, and America said, that ain't for real. I mean, a lot of America didn't. They believed it. I can't say all of America. 75 million people knew what was up. But I mean, that's not even, I mean, a lot of the millions and millions and millions didn't vote. They sat out, or you had 77 vote for Trump million. And the hot stove theory, we're going to do it again. Got to put our hand on the stove. Ow, it hurts. Ow. Ah, let's do it again. I haven't hurt myself enough yet. That's America though. Cause you know why? Our generations haven't actually, besides financial issues, we haven't really gone through some shit other than terror attacks, and we had a war in the Middle East, but that, I mean, that's not our country. I mean, in Europe, you had the Europeans understand it a little better, and I'm getting nervous, but like they're holding the line still, because in Europe they've had to fight all of the fascism or the communism or whatever, or the isms and the extremisms physically, and they had to hold off invasions and shit, and we haven't had some existential threat in America that we've had to band together to fight against, other than 9/11, but that's so old, that's so long ago now. So we have nothing to unite over except for just fighting ourselves. That's really it. Because I mean, you think that little Russia invaded Ukraine, that should unite people. Nope, didn't. Israel's committing a genocide over Gaza, that should unite people. Nope, it doesn't. So until America like goes through something where we have to unify, we're just going to continue to get worse, because we don't have any major existential issues other than our own. We have our own issues, financial, health, family, for sure, and that could be a lot. I'm talking like existential issues, like Ukraine. You know, Ukraine, everyone has their own issues, but they're fighting an existential threat too. So you got to learn what that's like in life, to fight something that you can't do anything about, and it's gonna either kill you or, you know, whatever. But you also have your own personal life to navigate too. And in America, we don't have an existential threat. MAGA creates them for MAGA, and now we got like the left as the existential threat, or or Bud Light or Cracker Barrel changing their logo or whatever to create these culture war bullshit for MAGA to keep them in their little conservative fight that they think they have. But none of it's real. And the actual existential threats that are out here in the world, America doesn't really care. We don't really put much into them, like Russia or stopping funding to Israel. If you haven't noticed, just my take on it. So, I mean, just to get back to this, the FBI in the crowd, I mean, it's based on conspiracy theories and MAGA wanting to push the narrative that this was a Fedsurrection, that this was the feds that did January 6th and not Donald Trump or his supporters. Okay, supporters personally that were out there. Okay, but you have multiple sources that go into the facts. Then you guys can, if you want them, I can put them in Discord. But there was already an OIG report, Office of the Inspector General, Department of Justice report, oversight and review from December of 2024 about the role of the FBI and what they did on January 6th. So that already exists. So you can't Republican strategy is to undo history now. So you have that. This is where I'm getting my sources from. If you're like, Mercado, where are you getting all this information from? Yeah, okay, just the news says that, but you're just making it up. I'm not. Okay, here's the OIG releases report of the FBI's handling of its confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts in the lead up to January 6th. Okay. OIG report also. You got a press release. We can zoom in. Department of Justice OIG releases report on the FBI's handling of its confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts. The Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz announced today the release of review examining the FBI's handling of confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts the events of leading up to the events of the Capitol on January 6th. Okay, let's just skip to here. The findings in today's report include the FBI took significant and appropriate steps in advance of January 6th to prepare for its supporting role. Despite playing only a supporting role in preparing for and responding to the events of January 6th, the FBI recognized the potential for violence and took significant and appropriate steps to prepare for this supporting role. The FBI did not canvass field offices for intelligence from CHSs prior to January 6th, which could have helped the FBI and law enforcement with their January 6th preparations. Wonder why they didn't do that. Maybe because Trump was president. The FBI could have taken additional steps to canvass its field offices in advance of January 6th to identify any intelligence, including CHS reporting that might have assisted with the FBI and law enforcement partners' preparations for January 6th. FBI Director Paul Abate described the lack of canvass prior to January 6th as a basic step that was missed. I wonder why it was missed. You can't have it both ways, MAGA. You can't have it both ways. The facts are the feds were held back purposefully on January 6th from stopping the attempted physical stopping of the certification of the election, which was successful for hours. They did stop it. They didn't succeed in like sending it back to the states. Trump challenged all of the states that he wanted to. Every single one came back that there was no widespread fraud that resulted in like Biden won over Trump because of fraud in the election. Not a single one. Not a single one. Not one. Even the red states. He tried them all. We had like 15 days of Biden winning the election. Remember that? Or 15 different instances of Biden winning because of all the states he challenged legally. Biden won again. Biden won again. Oh, weird. Guess what? Biden won again. Every time. Confusion and lack of coordination contributed to the FBI's inaccurate report to Congress that it had canvassed field offices. After January 6th, the FBI report to Congress that it had directed its field offices prior to January 6th to canvass their CHSs for information concerning threats in connection with the January 6th electoral certification. However, as noted, We found that no canvassing of field offices for source information had occurred. We found that the FBI statements to Congress were not intentionally inaccurate, right? And that confusion and lack of coordinated communications contributed to the inaccurate reporting. Can you imagine when MAGA loses power, which I still think will happen, and we got investigations into Kash Patel's FBI? Holy. No undercover FBI employees at protests or at the Capitol on January 6th. Weird. No. Dan Bongino told me. Ironically, Kash Patel told me, because Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were both podcasters before they're in the FBI now. And ironically, those two were spinning this lie. Ironically. Almost by design. And now they run the FBI. Isn't that fun? We found no evidence in the materials that we reviewed or the testimony we received showing or suggesting that the FBI had undercover employees in the previous protest crowds or at the Capitol on January 6th. Today's report also details our findings regarding FBI CHSs who were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Our review determined that none of these FBI CHSs were authorized by the FBI to enter the Capitol or a restricted area to otherwise break the law on January 6th, nor was any CHS directed by the FBI to encourage others to commit legal acts on January 6th. But yet you got Republicans and Trump doing, wow, radical left Democrat scam. Donald Trump, wow. The spin. That's why it's something that's so obvious that happened in broad daylight. Look at you had an attempted coup of the American government that goes down in history of attacks on the Capitol that date back to like when America became a country, and like the burning of shit, like the 1800s, 1800s, happened in broad daylight too, and deny, spin. That's conservatives and MAGA. Deny something that happens in broad fucking daylight because you need to hold on to your political narrative. You got to hold on tight. Not like we all watched it, which again, I will continue to say, we didn't watch January 6th through any other lens other than MAGA streamers. I was doing this. This was my first time I started actually getting into this type of stream, because the only streams I ever did was like on the ground stuff and like taking my own phone and filming, which I still do. But I wasn't doing these like at home streams where I'm like reviewing stuff on the internet with you. January 6th was like the first time we did that. And the streams we were using were MAGA, all of them. We were bouncing them. Just like we do with the protests in LA or in the protests in wherever we're covering protests. I had a bunch of windows up and we go, okay, let's go check this angle. Okay, let's go check that angle. Just like with the same thing. All MAGA the whole time. And then we found out what the news had to say later about it. But we watched all of January 6th through the people that were out there participating in it, as they filmed their crimes like a bunch of morons. Okay, but not only that, so you have the press statement from the Inspector General. So you have the actual full report, you have the media release, then you have a first-hand source here. Inspector General's January 6th report misrepresented as proof of FBI setup. Social media users are misrepresenting a report released Thursday by Justice Department Inspector General's office, falsely claiming that it's proof the FBI orchestrated the Capitol riot on January 6th. This article was written last year. They're doing it again. The same exact thing is happening because Republicans and MAGA are copy-paste. They have no original thoughts. Even their, if you haven't noticed, they're so lazy. Even their conspiracies are the same. They just recycle them and just run through them like Russians. Russian propaganda and the Russians do the same exact thing. Run the same 3 or 4 talking points over and over. Trans people, January 6th, COVID, woke. Over and over and over and over again. in a loop or whatever direction they want to do next. Russian, same thing. So the Watchdog report examined a number of areas, including whether major intelligence failures preceded the riot, whether the FBI in some way provoked the violence. Claims spreading online focus on the report's finding that 26 FBI informants were in Washington, D.C. for election-related protests on January 6th. Coming from the dude that takes his talking points from the Democrat Party on... Have I mentioned the Democratic Party in this entire stream other than actually shitting on them? Am I glazing the Democratic Party? The only thing I mentioned was that they're weak. The Democratic Party is far too weak for what I want to do to MAGA. I promise you. I want to see him in Gitmo. I want to see MAGA in a fucking hole. Democratic Party is weak for me, actually. And what must be done to stop this, and where Trump should be. Trump should be in a Supermax. And then we should have a live stream of Trump in the Supermax where we can all watch Trump in there in a fucking straitjacket. You know any Democratic Party policies that are along those lines? I don't think so. Ain't no Democratic Party here, bud. Meanwhile, you got Biden and his shit. Oh, we gotta be unbiased or we gotta be fair. Get the fuck out of here. Although 17 of informants either entered the Capitol or restricted area around the building during the riot, none of the 26 total informants were authorized to do so by the Bureau, according to the report, nor were they authorized to otherwise break the law or encourage others to do so. Remember how Saddam Hussein ended? The facts, that's false. The report found that no undercover FBI employees were at the riot on January 6th and that none of the Bureau's informants were authorized to participate. Informants, also known as confidential human resources. Are you Antifa? Yep, I'm anti-fascist. Yep, I am. Fascists are bad. Okay. By the way, you can't call anyone and fire me, so you can't do that. So you can try, but you can't. You're getting a lot of people fired though, and we're gonna start building a coalition for that. And I can't wait. And I might help lead that. Anyone that's losing their job or like having MAGA screenshot shit and think that they're being little Soviet tattletales, we're going to win. Don't worry. And then it's going to be bad for you. According to the report, 26 informants were here in Washington on January 6th in connection with the day's events. FBI field offices only informed the Washington field office of FBI headquarters of 5 informants that were to be in the field on January 6th. Of the 26 informants, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot, and an additional 13 entered a restricted area around the Capitol, but none were authorized to do so by the FBI, nor were they given permission to break other laws or encourage others to do the same. The remaining 9 informants did not engage in any illegal activities. None of the 17 informants who entered the Capitol or surrounding restricted area have been prosecuted, the report says. A footnote states that after reviewing a draft by the report, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington said that generally has not charged those individuals whose only crime on January 6 was to enter restricted grounds surrounding the Capitol, which has resulted in the office declining to charge hundreds of individuals, and we have treated the CHS as consistent with this approach. The Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Washington's Field Office Counterterrorism Division told the Inspector General's office that he denied a request from the FBI office to have an undercover employee engage in investigative activity on January 6th. He, along with then Washington Field Office Assistant Director in charge Stephen D'Antonuno, said the FBI policy prohibits undercover employees at First Amendment protected events without investigative authority. Which sucks because there was plenty to investigate. Like, what are we talking about? There was a shitload to investigate out there. Many social media users drew false conclusions from the report's findings. January 6th was a setup, reads one post, that had more than 11,400 likes and shares on Friday. A new Inspector General report shows that 26 FBI DOJ confidential sources were in the crowd on January 6th, and some of them went into the Capitol in restricted areas. Is it a coincidence that Ray put in his resignation notice yesterday? Treason. Which social media user? I'm gonna guess N wokeness or Jack Pacific. Can we find that post? Damn it. Yeah, it's the same article. On an X post? I wanna okay, let's just go to X. Can we find that post? Who wrote it? Oh damn it. I don't think we're gonna find it. Oh, they're saying it now. Doesn't matter. 11 hours ago. January 6th was a setup by the feds, and the left still clings to it like it's Armageddon. And they're using this guy as like evidence as this was the Fed. This was the Fed that did it.
Do not go in there.
Radio.
Okay, buddy. Don't forget, this is the same MAGA. This is the same MAGA that says that this was an Antifa insurrection, but now it was the feds. Now it was the feds that did it. And that's why Jimmy Kimmel, when he made his remarks, was like, that dude's one of you. Talk about like the shooter and how they act. This is how the Proud Boys dress. This is like the Proud Boy outfit. This is literally like Republican COVID outfit. Like when you were like out in public and you would like walk around and you like the conservatives had like the bandit mask or whatever because they wanted to be different. So they got the rag one that you would just wear that now all the ICE wears. This one. This is the that's a for sure conservative wearing mask person in 2020. Okay. Because like the liberal leftist crowd that were wearing masks were wearing actual like masks that would prevent the spread of particles and shit. And they had the what was it, the N whatever mask. There were like so many scientific named masks that people had to wear. Whatever. What was that, N90 something? N95 mask or whatever it was. Or the other one, masks that actually did something to protect you from breathing shit in. The N95, yeah. So conservatives were like, well, we got to wear the mask, so let's put on the most ridiculous diaper possible and like try to meme it. And while at first it was funny, got to give it to them. They were memeing it at first. That was funny. But then they all started wearing, and most of them wear the American flag one. Like, and it's the same fucking mask. A conservative mask. So guy that is here is literally wearing that same shit. Literally wearing the conservative 3%er or Proud Boy outfit that they all wore for the whole year.
Do not go in there.
Radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way.
There were hundreds of people that went in. Hundreds of people went into the
that
Capitol.
led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and
Bobby Powell is a MAGA. I had to block him. No fucking way, dude. Bobby Powell is not a journalist. He's a MAGA. He used to comment on all my shit. Oh, I didn't block him. Oh, I guess he stopped following me. Oh, I blocked him on my old account. Pronouns are alpha male, warrior, poet. Oh. Darn. Anyway, well, it looks like he died. Okay. Okay.
He has his camera rolling. He told him that
Well, maybe he can interview Charlie Kirk now.
would be illegal, and that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window, and then he turned his camera around, and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him.
What a narrative over the video. The guy pushed him out of the way. Obviously, number one, in general, being filmed committing something, people are gonna, like, if you're trying to commit a crime or whatever, you're gonna look and be like, oh shit, I'm on video. And then two, he gets pushed out of the way by the fucking moron with the American flag that's trying to pretend like he's the moral arbiter of, like, the situation. This fucking clown. He got physically pushed out of the way. And when you already have this rage and you're in riot mode, you are like, who the fuck are you, little guy? The fuck out of my way. I'm going in there. Exactly. Who the fuck are you, little string bean? I'm going in that building. But I don't know what you're on. I've seen it on the other end. I've seen it on the opposite side in terms of, like, the protests, where you got protesters and the people that are out there with their signs and they just want to march, and then they tell agitators or, like, people that aren't there for the protest that are out there to go smash shit, and they go, stop, and then the person that's going to smash it turns on the protest crowd and starts wanting to attack them for, like, stopping, for, like, trying to self-police, I guess. And it can be a bad situation for protesters that are trying to, like, police the riot or whatever sometimes. And they try. I've seen it on the opposite end. So all that narrative to cope and say, it's just to try to distract from the fact that they were the ones responsible for January 6th. So this is going around today, though. John Strand, I guess, who was a January 6th political prisoner, which he should have never been let out. That's a domestic terrorist. That is a domestic terrorist right there. Okay? Based upon what he did on January 6th. But they're all connected. Look at Steve Bannon's crowd. I was innocent. January 6th was a lie meant to destroy all of us. I would not participate in that. But you were out there. Benny Johnson guy getting interviewed. So they're taking the story of that you had 270 FBI agents respond, which is literally written in the report that was posted. Christopher Wray concealed this from us for 4 years. This is a big deal, and that's exactly why he hid it for us. Nothing was hidden. Nothing was hidden. And if anything, MAGA created a layer of, like, you can't watch the January 6th committee. Don't watch it. Don't watch anything about January 6th. It was Antifa. It was the feds. Elon, very troubling. I hope all the details come to light. They will come to light now. It's unforgivable that Chris Wray kept this hidden. So they're going to go after Chris Wray next, after they got Comey. Who, Comey's going to win that. Comey's going to win that case. Easy case, by the way. And he's going to have access to high-profile attorneys, especially ones that were shit-canned by DEI or whatever. So I'm not really worried about Comey. He'll be fine. Unless he's not, they're just, like, literally put him in the gulag. Senator Elwood to prison and was thrown into solitary confinement for peacefully protesting on J6. I have 4 kids, and the oldest was 5. That's too bad. What a shit father. I missed first ever day of... Wow. Well, that's your choice. You missed their first day of school and their birthdays for a fucking orange fascist. What a dog shit father. What a terrible father. Yeah, you look like a bad father. Look like you're more interested in suckling right-wing propaganda just by that face. What a terrible, what a no fucking, the only valid, unless you, like, I feel for, like, my veterans that have missed, like, their kids' first day of school or, like, their first whatever with their kids because they were deployed or whatever. But to miss all of that because you decided to go and riot, which that's what it was, or engage in an insurrection and get the fuck out of here. I'm still not accepting the fact that it was designed to be a peaceful protest. The year was priming MAGA to lie about that Trump was going to lose the election. The whole year that Trump was like, the election's going to be stolen. Stop the steal rallies all year round because, like I told you, and right-wing propaganda, they prime you. They prep you for it. So all of 2020 leading up to the election, they had stop the steal shit. They're gonna do something with the election to like have a self-fulfilling prophecy that takes place because they primed their right-wing base for it all year. So that way when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, of course, Trump told us this would happen. Trump said that there would be that they would be stolen, and now it was because Trump said it was. And then they went to the Capitol. There was no valid reason to be at the Capitol. You have your First Amendment voice heard, but there's nothing. It was based upon a lie. So I'm still navigating that one. Like, if you have a bunch of people that are lied to, and that are like in a fucking cult, and then they're brought to the Capitol on the day of the election, that should have had security there. Should have let them protest, but nowhere near any government building. But again, Trump was president, though. Remember that. I let MAGA likes to pretend Biden was president and Obama was president for like the last 10 years. Biden was president for 4, but Trump was president before him. You guys forget Trump was president already. Not you guys, chat, but like MAGA. MAGA forgets for some reason. I'd like to thank Kash Patel and the outstanding members of the FBI for their brilliant work on the recent indictment of the worst FBI director in the history of our country, James Dirty Cop Comey. The level of enthusiasm by the FBI was incredible, but only caused by the fact that they knew Comey for what he is and was, a total slime ball. Again, thank you to the FBI and specifically those that worked on this case with U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, the DOJ. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. President Donald J. Trump. Signed. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. President. Proud of the brave men and women of the FBI to pursue their pursuit of the truth. Just dick sucks, dude. So proud. I'm going to go write on some more bullets for you, Mr. President. No way. Please don't be real. Nah. So I gotta fact check memes, dude. That would have been crazy. I had to fact check that one. Oh boy. Oh boy. Did she get remarried yet? No. FBI bombshell. We had 300 agents in crowd. This is your Russian paid Benny Johnson channel.
Belugas have the IQ of a human genius.
What is that now? Okay. So they go through the same article we go through and then still come away with that we had 300 agents in the crowd. They had 300 agents respond, and it was 274. I like how they put it up to the round number, too. 274 looks weird. Let's put it at 300. It's a better number. I mean, what has this administration been truthful about? Can anyone put that in the chat? It's 300 now, not according to the article that was written. or according to them. They hid 250 plus FBI plainclothes agents in the crowd on January 6th from us for over 4 years. Nothing was hidden. Not a single thing has been hidden. Yes. What is this one? I've been asked by many people about the life and times of Amelia Earhart. Such an interesting story, and would I consider declassifying and releasing everything about her, in particular her last fatal flight? Okay, literally. I will be a dictator on day one. Oh, you guys want to see how Alex Jones is doing? Checking in with Alex Jones. Nah, where's your photo? No. There you go. That's how Alex Jones. No, that's what Alex Jones is up to. Yep. I have a. He took a picture of it. There you go. So I mean, yeah, with the brown jacket too. He's wearing it. Yeah, on purpose. It's just like they keep the cope in front of them to be like, we're doing this to meme on it, but not really. It's just a layer to keep them away from just being what they are. Okay. Nothing encapsulates the right more than acting like a Nazi and blaming the left for it. The left are Nazis, so we're gonna make ourselves look like Nazis to own the left. Boy, we're tired of being called Nazis. Boy, I hate when liberals and the left call us Nazis. I can't stand that. We're not Nazis. I'm from Arizona. We deleted that. Okay, deleted that one. So in terms of, you had Pete Hegseth respond to Ben Hodges on this one. These are some of my bookmarks I've had saved over the past day or two. Things that are going on. But Ben Hodges, who we've interviewed on the channel, general, highly respected, especially highly respected amongst the pro-Ukraine community. He's been on the right side of every argument, so, and he still continues to be. He led U.S. Army. He was I've been, my brain's cooked. Ben Hodges was U.S. Army Europe commander completely. He's done a bunch. He's done more than that though too. I think it was Europe though. Yep, U.S. Army Europe from 2014. Well, he was the Allied commander while I was serving. That's how I even knew who he was before we had him on and talked to him. So it was kind of like weird, not weird in a bad way, but I mean, we all knew Ben Hodges was leading Europe. Well, I do now, but when I was serving, we knew that he was in a leadership position because you see him like for like the chain of command, and we had our USARAC, which was Alaska chain of command, which I think USARAC falls under Pacific Command now. I don't know if user was, yeah, the Binky Bear. That's a classic now. Now I think it falls under USARAC to. I don't know if that's what happened. Let's do, hold on, Alaska. I don't know why they disbanded USARAC. You're gonna use it. You need it now. Is that just what it's called? Alaskan Command? That's what it's called. Alaskan Command now. Allcom? Okay. So they still have it. It's just called Allcom now. Lieutenant General Case A. Cunningham is the leader. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, when I was served, it was called USERAC. That was the logo. But you learn still like figures and generals of other commands. But Ben Hodges was obviously a big deal. Leading, being a NATO commander, but also being in charge of U.S. Army Europe. So he put out in terms of like the upcoming Pete Hegseth generals meeting that's going to take place. And he said, July 1935, German generals were called to a surprise assembly in Berlin and informed that their previous oath to the Weimar Constitution was void and that they would be required to swear a personal oath to the Fuhrer. Most generals took the new oath to keep their positions. And then, strangely enough, which is still like, I don't even know, I just can't stand this, that this drunken National Guardsman, which if you serve in the National Guard, it's fine, but I served active duty too, so I get to say it. But did he delete it? Did he delete his post? He quote tweeted. I mean, I think he might have did it on his personal. He quote tweeted. There it is. Cool story, General. And just like the fire inside me, like, and it's not even like I was a sergeant. Like I just was a sergeant, but like I still, like, for example, it might sound cringe or whatever, but like commanders I respect or whatever, I'll still call him sir. Like my commander we had, he was I call him sir when he messages me. It just is what it is. So when I was talking to General Hodges to get him onto the platform, you know, it's like, hey sir, are you available here and there? Like there's like a level of respect there because he's put in his time. He's led thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers, because when you're leading an entire command, you're leading like everything that falls into it. You are in charge of it. So you're about like General Hodges was in charge of generals. Like he had generals under him. That's how, I mean, not saying Ben Hodges was like the top of the top in the military, but he had a high position. So to have our drunken Secretary of Defense, who was like, what, a captain, I think? Not even. Who is running the infantry officer in the Minnesota National Guard. Served at Guantanamo Bay. So he probably like abused people when he served, probably. Either way, did fucking, like, in comparison to Ben Hodges, you can't even hold Ben Hodges's sock in terms of military accomplishments and what they did. But unfortunately, this loser is in charge of the military now. So he thinks he can talk like that to Ben Hodges, and it's wild. But it doesn't deny it, though. That's the one thing you could have done. Been like, yeah, we're not doing that. But like when we have the MAGA that do this, though, that there's no indication that we're not going there. It'd be one thing, you know, if like you had all of these accusations coming in, and if they were just accusations, you'd see action in the opposite direction, right? You would see like the Republican Party or the MAGA, you know, make sure, hey, they're not doing that. We're not fascist. We're not doing fascist stuff. No, what do? They double down. Start giving themselves Hitler mustaches. Instead of like saying, General, we're not doing that. Or this would have been an opportunity to provide why you're calling up the generals. General, we're having a staff meeting or something. I don't know. Anything. Instead of just like, yeah, cool story. We're going to do that or something. I don't know. But not really number one, a professional response is the Secretary of Defense. Well, you can't really expect that from Pete Hegseth. I mean, why would you? He's a Fox News host. But when you have Fox News hosts and podcasters in positions within the government, this is what you get. I know for a fact, like, I'm not a politician. I'm not trying to be one. I'm a YouTuber. I like YouTubing and streaming. I don't want to like take power and then pretend like I know what the fuck to do. I have some ideas, but I would need people that are smarter than me to help make sense of them. But I couldn't do it. I don't want to. But you got people like Pete Hegseth and others that should have no business being around power at all, and then they get it, and then this is what we get. Okay. It's just not. You got good responses. I mean, you got Adam Kinzinger. You're a dork. I mean, what else to say? I'm in charge of the Pentagon. That's Pete Hegseth. There you go. There he is. There's our Secretary of Defense. He said nobody smart wants to lead, because it's a lot of annoying people. That's why. You gotta have a lot of annoying people. And plus, you have people that are literally going to work against you because just you're their political enemy. So even if, like, say I ran for office, and even if I had the most balanced policies possible, I'd have to run as a Democrat, and just because of that, I would have just for the simple fact of being a Democrat, you'd have Republicans just going against you. Not because like the policies are bad, but because just Democrat in name. Then therefore, demon, enemy. Good response. You read Project 2025, you know things are only going to get worse. Yep. And that was after yesterday he made this announcement, which I did make a response to it because it's just more historical revision. Oh, it's Secretary of... Fuck. Trump is no new wars. No new wars. Wouldn't name the Defense Department the Secretary of War if they weren't going to go to war. We had this one yesterday at the end of the day.
Under the previous administration, a review panel was convened to determine whether soldiers awarded the Medal of Honor for their actions at the Battle of Wounded Knee should keep their medals. Now, upon deliberation, that panel concluded that these brave soldiers should, in fact, rightfully keep their medals from actions in 1890. The report was concluded in October of 2024. Yet, despite this clear recommendation, former Secretary Lloyd Austin, for whatever reason, I think we know he was more interested in being politically correct than historically correct, chose not to make a final decision. Such careless inaction has allowed for their distinguished recognition to remain in limbo until now.
Recognition.
Under my direction, we're making it clear without hesitation that the soldiers who fought in the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890 will keep their medals. And we're making it clear that they deserve those medals. This decision is now final, and their place in our nation's history is no longer up for debate. We salute their memory, we honor their service, and we will never forget what they did.
Yeah, we don't forget, which the Battle of Wounded Knee was not a battle. It was a massacre. It was a civilian massacre. And the 7th Cavalry opened up on 250 Lakota men, women, and children and killed all of them. And they were given medals of honor for this. And through decades and decades of time, it's taken advocacy groups and like Native American groups to try to get those medals taken away, because what the fuck are we giving medals of honor to a massacre for? And it was finally up for review, and then you got Pete Hegseth now, who's in charge, who was like, yeah, actually, they get to keep those, and it was based, and we like that. We like civilian massacres. 250.
Today's episode is...
But you guys are like, what about the Epstein files? What about groceries? Nope, we're doing 1890. Okay, that's what's important.
For decades, the U.S. government had continued to seize Native American lands, and the Sioux were a special target, especially the Lakota after gold was discovered in the Black Hills of South Dakota. The government engaged in several treaties, mainly to address Sioux concerns. A critical issue was the reality that bison herds of the Great Plains, critical to the Plains Indians, had been hunted to near extinction. The government ensured the Lakota, in particular, that their reservations' lands would be protected from encroachment by settlers and gold miners. But these promises were not kept. There was understandable disquiet among the Sioux placed on the reservations. The Sioux, who had been resistant to being subjugated by the U.S. government and simply wanted to live their lives in peace, but the government had concerns about a new ritual that they deemed dangerous to the peaceful control of the tribes. During this time, news spread among the reservations of a Paiute prophet named Wovoka, founder of the ghost dance religion. He had a vision. The Christian Messiah, Jesus Christ, had returned to Earth in the form of a Native American. This was called the Ghost Dance Movement, a ceremony meant to serve several purposes. The extermination of the buffalo herds and the taking of arable land forced the Sioux and other nations to depend upon the U.S. government for food and basic survival. The results were less than exemplary, and many government-appointed Indian agents stole food or sold it to the tribes at high prices or in trade goods. Or some.
Have you guys seen the recent movie came out, Flowers of the... Shoot, I can't think of the name right now. Killers of the Flower Moon. It's actually really good. You should go see that movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to rent it. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. Really good. But watch that. Give you an idea of the treatment of Native Americans in connection with the U.S. government.
Times they just withheld the food, creating starvation conditions. To the Sioux, the ghost dance celebration brought them hope that the white man would soon disappear, the buffalo herds would return, people would be reunited with loved ones who had since passed away, the old way of living before the white man would return. Some tribes, including the Sioux, believed that a great earthquake and flood would occur, which would drown all the whites. Part of the prophecy included the return of dead ancestors, bringing peace and prosperity to all. It was believed that the prophecy would come true by performing the ceremony, which was conducted by a slow and solemn ghost dance, performed as a shuffle in silence to a slow single drumbeat. Sitting Bull had himself expressed doubts about the ceremony and the magic involved, or that the dead would be brought back to life, but he had no objections to allowing his people to dance the ghost dance. The Lakota emissaries who visited Wovoka, Kicking Bear, and Short Bull were taught that while performing the ghost dance, they would wear special ghost dance shirts, as had been seen by Black Elk in a vision. Apparently, Kicking Bear he misunderstood the meaning of the shirts, and he spread the word that they would be able to stop the white man's bullets. This movement had been labeled religious and spiritual in nature, pagan, but it was considered dangerous by the settlers and the government. And white settlers called it the coming of the Messiah War, and they were very concerned that...
What a bunch of pussies. Because of a dance, of a dance, and because of clothing that they were wearing. That's how sensitive our government is, actually. Holy shit. The Native Americans have special powers, and they're gonna defeat us with their special powers. We gotta do something, like massacre them.
The ghost dance ceremony signified a potentially dangerous Sioux resurgence. If you are moving to a warmer state or just a family...
Nope. I'm not. Unfortunately. Stuck here.
The frontier settlers were alarmed by the sight of the many Great Basin and Plains tribes performing the ghost dance, worried that it might be a prelude to armed attack. The U.S. government was increasingly concerned about the spiritual movement's influence at Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. The basic information they were indoctrinated with was that they had been defeated and placed on reservations because they had angered the gods by abandoning their traditional customs. The ghost dance ceremony would supposedly remedy all of these issues. The ghost dance ritual was officially banned on the Lakota reservations, but the practice continued anyway.
That's crazy.
Due to the rising tensions, many of Sitting Bull's tribe left to join Chief Bigfoot's tribe, and wanting to avoid further violence, Bigfoot led his people and the newcomers further south toward the reservation at Pine Ridge, South Dakota. One plan that was discussed by the government was to bring William F. Buffalo Bill Cody into the negotiations. He had known Sitting Bull and other chiefs for many years, and they had his trust. But Cody and his Wild West show were touring Europe at the time, and he was unavailable. Tensions only increased as the harsh winter set in, and the Lakota were starving and not allowed to go hunt for food. James McLaughlin, the U.S. Indian agent at the Standing Rock Agency where Chief Sitting Bull lived, was also very concerned. Being heavily outnumbered by Lakota, he ordered several of the chiefs taken into custody to be held as hostages, including Sitting Bull, and he hoped that these influential leaders could persuade their people to abandon their Messiah craze. The report stated, on December 15, 1890, 40 Native American policemen arrived at Sitting Bull's house to arrest him, but he refused to comply. The police resorted to using force, enraging the Lakota members. One Lakota, Catch the Bear, fired his rifle and shot Lieutenant Bullhead, who then fired his revolver, hitting Sitting Bull in the chest, and tribal police officer Red Tomahawk shot Sitting Bull in the head. Sitting Bull died between 12 and 1 p.m., and afterward over 200 members of his Hunkpapa band escaped from Standing Rock to join Chief Spotted Elk, later known as Bigfoot, and his Minneconjou band at the Cheyenne River Indian Reservation. What later came out was that Sitting Bull agreed to come with the police and asked that his horse be saddled while he dressed. Meanwhile, a large group of ghost dancers gathered outside the cabin, and when Sitting Bull and the police stepped outside, one of the dancers shot Lieutenant Henry Bullhead. Bullhead pulled his gun and shot back at the dancer, but accidentally shot Sitting Bull instead. Another policeman, Red Tomahawk, then killed Sitting Bull with a shot to the head. 6 police and 7 Lakota were killed in the exchange of gunfire. The two reports are similar, but there are some differences. Following this event, Spotted Elk and his band, along with 38 Hunkpapa, then left the Cheyenne River Reservation on December 23rd to join Red Cloud at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. In response to what was perceived as a growing rebellion, the orders were then issued to the Army to control the Sioux and stop their independence movement, as well as disarm them. All the chiefs were named in the arrest orders. Bigfoot himself was unaware that there was an arrest warrant for him, and being old and suffering from pneumonia, he had no intentions of fighting and carried a white flag which they planted as—
This is what the Trump government's going to do to anyone that stands against them, by the way. They just copy paste. Okay, they did it to the natives. They're going to do it to anyone now that's going to dissent against this Trump administration, or try to at least. All the same exact energy, almost.
His people set up camp. On December 28, 1890, Major Samuel M. Whiteside led a detachment of the U.S. 7th Cavalry and met with Spotted Elk's band of Minneconjou Lakota and 38 Hunkpapa Lakota near Porcupine Butte on the Lakota Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, and escorted them 5 miles to the west, camping near Wounded Knee Creek. John Shangru, a scout and interpreter who was half Lakota, advised Whiteside, "Do not disarm the Lakota immediately, as it would lead to violence." The rest of the 7th Cavalry Regiment, commanded by Colonel James W. Forsyth, arrived the next morning, on December 29th, bringing the numbers of soldiers to 500, and they surrounded the encampment, where there were 230 Lakota men and 120 women and children. Forsyth also brought 4 M1875
the Hotchkiss guns.
Hotchkiss mountain guns covering the troopers.
Hotchkiss guns.
Who were to disarm the Sioux. Forsyth then ordered the Lakota to surrender all weapons.
There's a Hotchkiss gun. It's that like old this 42 millimeter, like the old Gatling gun. If you think of like old westerns and shit they had. It spins in a circle. But 42 millimeter. Was it used on trains too? Either way, this is what was used on civilians in Wounded Knee.
And the immediate removal of the Lakota from the zone of military operations to awaiting trains. The soldiers searched and confiscated 38 rifles, not including those taken from the Lakota. None of the old men or women were armed, but a medicine man named Yellowbird allegedly harangued the young men who were becoming agitated by the search, and the tension spread to the soldiers. As the story goes, a deaf tribesman named Black Coyote, who did not speak English, was either reluctant to give up his rifle or did not understand the command, and he apparently resisted, claiming he had paid a lot for it. Then, during this event, Yellowbird began performing the ghost dance, and he told the men that their ghost shirts were bulletproof. During the process, one of the Indian scouts told the soldiers, "Black Coyote is deaf," and when the soldier persisted, he said, "Stop, he cannot hear your words." At that moment, 2 soldiers seized Black Coyote from behind, and in the struggle his rifle fired. Then, according to the Army, Yellowbird then threw some dust in the air, and approximately 5 young Lakota men with concealed weapons threw aside their blankets and fired their rifles at Troop K of the 7th. After this initial exchange, the firing became indiscriminate. After Black Coyote's rifle went off, the soldiers, being already anxious, started shooting most who had already been disarmed, killing most, including Black Coyote. What occurred next was as confusing as anything could get. The shooting by the soldiers was at close range, and all were in the open, and most of the Sioux men were killed or wounded without having a chance to return fire. Some of the Sioux ran to take back their confiscated rifles and started firing back on the soldiers. Bigfoot was among the first killed, and his corpse lay in the snow for 3 days before being tossed into a mass grave.
Jesus.
During the brief initial firefight, the soldiers manning the Hotchkiss guns fired into the camp where the women and children were hiding. It would appear that many of the soldiers killed and wounded were hit by friendly fire from the Hotchkiss guns. The surviving women and children ran from the killing zone to seek protection in a nearby ravine, jumping into the ditch. Then military discipline among the soldiers disintegrated. Officers could not control their men as they chased down the survivors on horseback over several miles and killed them. Then some soldiers went around killing the wounded laying on the ground. The entire event lasted less than an hour, and the estimates on the killed and wounded vary widely from at least 150 Lakota killed and 50 wounded to nearly 300 having been killed or wounded. Then a snowstorm arrived, becoming a blizzard that prevented an immediate search for dead, wounded, or survivors who fled. Reports indicate that the soldiers loaded 51 survivors, 4 men and 47 women and children onto wagons and took them to the Pine Ridge Reservation. Army casualties numbered 25 dead. In fact, 25 soldiers had died at the scene and 39 were wounded, with 6 of the men dying later of their wounds. The soldiers managed to find the bodies of the women and children up to 3 miles from camp. On January 1st, 1891, after the 3-day blizzard had passed, the soldiers dug a mass grave, filled it with the bodies they had recovered. Civilians were also hired to help. Some of the dead Sioux's relatives had already recovered some of them. 4 infants were found still alive, wrapped in their deceased mother's shawls. The numbers were 84 men, 44 women, and 18 children killed on the field, while at least 7 Lakota were mortally wounded. Many soldiers looted the dead and took souvenirs such as ghost dance shirts. Many were later sold as trophies. According to the report filed by General Nelson A. Miles, a scuffle occurred between one deaf warrior who had a rifle in his hand and two soldiers. The rifle was discharged and a battle occurred. Not only the warriors, but the sick, Chief Spotted Elk, and a number of women and children who tried to escape by running or scattering over the prairie were hunted down and killed. The fallout from the event was expected almost immediately due to the bad press that the Army expected to receive, so the government went into full damage control. An investigation was launched soon afterward, and eyewitness accounts confirmed that Black Coyote's rifle fired when he was seized from behind by the soldiers. Statements were gathered from survivors on both sides. One of Bigfoot's warriors who survived, Wazumaza, supported the fact that Black Coyote was deaf, and he stated if they had left him alone, he was going to put his gun down where he should. They grabbed him and spinned him in the east direction. He was still unconcerned even then. He hadn't his gun pointed at anyone. His intention was to put that gun down. They came on and grabbed the gun that he was going to put down. Right after they spun him around, there was the report of the gun. It was quite loud. I couldn't say that anyone was shot, but following that was a crash. Wazumaza ironically later changed his name to Dewey Beard. Another witness, Trooper Theodore Ragnar of the 7th Cavalry, also stated that Black Coyote was deaf. In contrast, another statement by another survivor named Turning Hawk called Black Coyote a crazy man, a young man of very bad influence, and, in fact, a nobody. Many historians believe that the soldiers of the 7th Cavalry were intent upon taking revenge for the regiment's defeat at Little Bighorn.
Well, that's why they brought 500 people, 500 soldiers.
July 1876, and the death of George Armstrong Custer. That may be true, but there is no confirmed evidence. Another voice was heard from former Pine Ridge Indian agent Valentine T. McGillicuddy, who was asked by General Leonard Wright Colby, commander of the Nebraska National Guard, to provide his opinion of the Army response to the Ghost Dance movement. Following is an excerpt from his letter dated January 15, 1891. As for the Ghost Dance, too much attention has been paid to it. It was only the symptom or surface indication of a deep-rooted, long-existing difficulty, as well as treat the eruption of smallpox as a disease and ignore the constitutional disease. As regards disarming the Sioux, however desirable it may appear, I consider it neither advisable nor practicable. I fear it will result as the theoretical enforcement of prohibition in Kansas, Iowa, and Dakota. You will succeed in disarming and keeping disarmed the friendly Indians because you can, and you will not succeed with the mob element because you cannot. If I were again to be an Indian agent and had my choice, I would take charge of 10,000 armed Sioux in preference to a like number of disarmed ones, and furthermore agree to handle that number or the whole Sioux nation without a white soldier. Respectfully, etc., V.T. McGillicuddy.
That dude knew what it was then. That dude knew what the deal was.
Colonel James Forsyth was held personally responsible and removed.
He said he would take 10,000 Sioux men as they are, not without a white commander or anything, just because that's the level of warrior they were.
From command by General Miles, who was disgusted that Forsyth had approved of the brutal killings of innocent women and children. This was especially true when it was proven that many of the Lakota were unarmed. Forsyth, in performing personal damage control to save his career, rewrote his after-action report, praising his troops for their courage in the face of religious fanaticism. The Army held a court of inquiry, but not a court-martial, which was convened by General Miles with a board of general officers, which criticized Forsyth for his tactical dispositions but otherwise exonerated him of responsibility. Forsyth was later reinstated and became a major general, and Miles opposed his promotions along the way, convinced he was a murderer. The government added insult to injury when it awarded 19 soldiers the Medal of Honor specifically for Wounded Knee and 31 others also awarded the Medal of Honor for the entire campaign based upon Forsyth's report.
And that's what Pete Hegseth restored, was those medals that were given.
Today, the site of the massacre has the Wounded Knee National Historic Landmark and is designated a National Historic Landmark by the U.S. Department of the Interior. In 1990, both houses of the U.S. Congress passed a resolution on the historical centennial, formally expressing deep regret
Massacre of Wounded
for the massacre. The response from the press was not long in coming, and some were not very bothered by the event. The Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer editor, L. Frank Baum, later the author of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, wrote in his editorial on January 3, 1891, "The Pioneer has before declared that our only safety depends upon the total extermination of the Indians. Having wronged them for centuries, we had better, in order to protect our civilization, follow it up with one more wrong and wipe these untamed and untamable creatures from the face of the earth.
Jesus.
In this
That's what the Wizard of Oz author said?
lies future safety for our settlers and the soldiers who are under
Sounds like Israel. Sounds like Netanyahu's government talking about Palestinians.
competent commands. Otherwise, we may expect future years to be as full of trouble with the Redskins as those have been in the past." Despite the original intentions, the Wounded Knee Massacre ended the Ghost Dance movement and was one of the last major confrontations in the Indian Wars. The greatest prizes were the ghost shirts, and in 1891, one shirt with bullet holes and bloodstains was brought to Glasgow, Scotland, with Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West traveling show. A year later, it was given to Kelvin Grove Museum by George C. Krager, a member of the show, and the shirt was on public display from 1892 until 1999. Of interest, your humble narrator was also a part of the story. I was living in Glasgow at the time, attending graduate school, and I was invited to join the committee by Scottish First Secretary Donald Dewar, whom I had only met recently.
What an ironic place to put that. Knowing what, like, the Scots are, that's so fucked. The Scots and the Irish have been fighting, battling against the Brits, and like have been persecuted against whatever. Okay.
He and the city council
That's wild. I didn't know it was put there.
met with Marcella Lebeau, secretary of the Wounded Knee Association and great-granddaughter of one of the survivors of Wounded Knee, in November 1998. I was asked by Dewar, "Well, what do you think about their wanting to have the shirt back, Colin?" I responded, "Sir, if another country had the tunic of Robert the Bruce, would you not want it back?" He looked at me, smiled, nodded his head, and said, "I understand, thank you." The Lakota Nation wanted the shirt, a deeply important piece of their culture and history, returned to the Lakota people. And after being given a handmade replica made by Marcella Lebeau herself, I was there when the Glasgow City Council voted to return the original shirt if the city residents supported the move in a special vote. After Lebeau and the other Lakota tribal representatives made their case, and then the committee went into deliberation, I spoke with Marcella Lebeau and learned more from her about the shirt and its significance, which I did not know much about before. Marcella said, "This will bring about a sense of closure to a sad and horrible event."
Yeah, but fortunately now it's reopened because of, when was this video made? A year ago? Not a pretty good video, even if the narrator used narrator voice for the video, but I just wanted to pick one. Forgotten history. There's a bunch of them though. Got a PBS one, a 6-minute one. I guess we could have watched the PBS one, but they're all informative about the massacre.
Now we're also following another developing story tonight from Washington.
The soldiers who fought in the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890 will keep their medals. And we're making it...
Oh, they're not saying it. We saw that. I thought they were saying more. Comments aren't happy with the Hegseth. They gotta have botted likes on this platform. Battle of it was a fucking slaughter of civilians, you drunken moron. At least the U.S. is consistent in its support for genocide. No such thing as a Battle of Wounded Knee. There was 1890 Wounded Knee Massacre, which was a war crime committed again by the 7th Cavalry. Doesn't change the fact that Colonel Forsyth disgraced himself and all of his men. It also seemed like it was a response to the scuffle that they tried to arrest the leaders of the Lakota community. And then after that took place. But also, yeah, there was lots of L's taken by the U.S. Army in the Indian genocide. They call it Indian Wars, but it was really just a slow, prolonged genocide of Native Americans. It wasn't really a wars, but they took L's. But that's likely why and again, it's just theorized. There's no like document of like U.S. Army generals saying we're gonna go and respond with a massacre because, but I mean, that usually doesn't happen. So you got to use your own common sense. Dumb. Trail of Tears, another sad event. There's many. I'm pissed. Same guy we saw earlier. So this guy lost his job. This ICE officer lost his job, and it's tough to watch. It really is tough to watch. But seeing shit like this just makes me upset in general. But this is what happened. This was yesterday.
Adios. 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 Adios.
You know what the irony of this video is, chat? You know what the irony of this video is? While the lady isn't getting killed, right? She didn't get killed from this, thankfully. You have the same type of rhetoric or the same type of thing like with the Irina Zarutska murder, and how you had a bunch of MAGA and conservatives that were all up in arms that nobody did anything to help a woman getting killed, but just in general, like violence to a woman. And in that train, a lot of people sat there and did nothing and just like watched her get stabbed and killed. But yet here they are, another situation of a male exerting power over a woman like this, which is like insane. And they're all cheering for it. In terms of like, he should have his job back. We didn't vote for you to fire ICE officers while letting the protesters go free. Nazis. There's no justification for what this ICE Nazi did. And the other thing I want you to look at too with these ICE officers and police, look at what they're wearing. Look at the clothes they're wearing and their tattoos. This is a grunt style t-shirt. Okay. So you get to wear grunt style, which is like right-wing conservative clothes. A lot of LARPers that never served in the military get those clothes, get that shit because it's got like America aura on it. But a lot of people that never served in their life get the grunt style, or they get the awesome shit my drill sergeant said clothing. Here's the shirt. And they usually have like the Punisher on them and stuff. This will defend. Okay. Conservative clothing. Grunt style shit. Republican clothing. So you got the agents wearing this shit. Where's the what? There you go. Or what? I don't know. What this just says B shifter, fire department one, whatever. But you got the grunt style logo on the sleeve. I don't know exactly what shirt they are wearing. They all have that on them. But they get to wear that any militia member would be wearing. Any member of like a right-wing militia, they all wear this clothing. No, you might actually even have the fire department one on. So, I mean, and then they wonder why this administration is called fascists. There's nothing that required him to grab her and then throw her to the ground. Literally. Took her, threw her to the other side of the hallway, and then threw her to the ground. Not a single situation. And if you can't handle a 5'3" woman that is like you, then you gotta throw her. Like, what the fuck is all that? And then what's up too with their masks? They got ear holes for their masks. You see this guy? He cut ear holes into his mask. What's that? You guys notice that? Look at his ears popping out. So I support Newsom's no masking policy for the feds. So you got MAGA mad. MAGA mad that he got his job back. Superintendent of Des Moines Public School in Iowa was arrested today. That took place. Which one was it? It was a month ago. I don't need Long Beach. ICE agent. Stop giving me stuff I didn't type in. ICE officer relieved of current duties after violent confrontation caught on camera. An immigration and customs enforcement agent seen on video pushing a woman at a federal courthouse in New York City on Thursday has been relieved of his current duties, and the Department of Homeland Security investigates the incident. In the video reviewed by ABC News, a woman could be heard pleading with the agent as her husband is being detained, saying, "You don't care about anything." The agent could be heard repeatedly saying "adios" before suddenly shoving the woman up against a wall and causing them to fall to the ground. The agent can be seen standing over her, crying as children surround the woman. The officer's conduct in the video is unacceptable and beneath the men and women of ICE. Our ICE law enforcement are held to the highest professional standards. And this officer is being relieved of current duties as we conduct a full investigation, McLaughlin said. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, who was at the federal building Thursday but did not personally witness the incident, posted on X. I was back at 26 Federal Plaza today with Senator Rivera, where an ICE agent violently threw this bereft woman to the ground in front of her kids. She had not touched him. She did not pose any threat. She had to be taken to the hospital. Seconds earlier, her husband had been abducted by masked ICE agents who did not identify themselves, did not present a warrant, and did not give any lawful grounds for his detention. So this is what led to that.
Pull her away. Pull her away. Suerte. Suerte, señora. Suelta a la niña. 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 No estoy haciendo nada. No estoy haciendo nada. No estoy haciendo nada.
And they get to put a piece of paper up in front of the door? Like, what is all that, dude? What in the hell is all that? You throw them into a stairwell, close the door, and then hide it? And what the fuck is all that? I was horrified yesterday by the shooting at the ICE facility in Texas and condemned it immediately regardless of motive or targets. We must condemn political violence. But let's be clear, every day masked ICE agents are acting violently against our neighbors, illegally abducting them, holding them in cruel and inhumane conditions, treating them as less than human and not deserving of due process. We will not stop bearing witness, or stop condemning them, or stop doing all we can to stand up to this lawless behavior. In the tradition of nonviolence, of course, in the fierce, insistent, soulful tradition of nonviolence that demands we treat people like human beings. And that was Brad Lander. Comments on the handling of the immigrants there from ICE, which is a common one. That's like every day. And why, as to like why ICE is being called Nazi. Like in general, you would have a portion of the population that will always call the federal government Nazi, especially in America. No matter if it's the Democrats in charge or Republicans, you're just gonna have that. Like they're just gonna call because of actions that the federal government's taken, militarization of multiple agencies over decades and decades and decades. You're just gonna have, like, in general, no matter what, like, say even if ICE wasn't acting like this, or we didn't have videos of this every single day, people are still just gonna believe that the feds are bad, and that's their freedom of speech to believe that, and to have those thoughts about the government, especially if they have historical precedents or their family, they have personal FBI, or excuse me, personal federal government connections in terms of they were wronged by the federal government. So you're always going to have that. But the consensus, though, of like everyone, even people that haven't been connected or haven't been impacted by the government agencies acting, or they haven't been beaten by the feds or had their family taken away or whatever, the reason why the consensus of ICE and the federal agencies as they are being Nazi or they're being fascist is because of their own actions. Okay? Like I told you, in general, you'll have people that just believe the feds are Nazi. That's their freedom of speech to believe that. The consensus grows, and you have more people that like normally don't believe that, or like that's not something they put their energy into. Like there's other things that they're worried about, but like the federal agents being Nazis really wasn't in their psyche because they don't see it, or it's not so obvious. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but it's not so obvious. It's very obvious now. It's very obvious to see. I mean, when you see this video, I mean, this is just one video, but this happens every day with this ICE. And why the communities are afraid of like ICE agents and like when they come into the town, because this is what they do. They beat you, they throw you against walls, and then they take you away and split your family up. Like, why would that be something that Americans look to as positive? Why is that something that you look to as positive? And you go, well, there was ICE when Biden was president. Yeah, and guess what? There were people protesting them too. It just wasn't as loud because, well, ICE existed. They weren't, I guess, going after people at work. Maybe they were, but it wasn't in such an egregious way that we're seeing. The level of militarization, the people that they're hiring, the 3%ers, if you scroll on X for more than 5 minutes, you get ads of like join DHS, become a part of the team or whatever on X, and they're recruiting out of militias. So it's not that there are people that stopped, like, because Biden was president, that they stopped protesting ICE. People want ICE abolished. That's why that bullet that said anti-ICE on it is cringe. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit, because if it was somebody that was actually anti-ICE, they wouldn't write anti-ICE on the bullet. They would have said abolish ICE or fuck ICE or I don't know. So apparently you can fit whole song lyrics, so they would have put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, fuck 12 or something, because apparently you can fit that many words on a bullet, according to Charlie Kirk's assassin. Still would like to see those. Still haven't seen them. I'd like to see one picture of all of the memes that were written on those bullets, apparently. I would like to see that. We haven't yet. But the fact that they have that written on there, anyone that's actually against ICE, number one, isn't going to shoot them. They're going to go out and protest against them, because even the far leftists understand that. They understand that you can't bring you can't go kill them. Plus, that would destroy your entire movement because people that are you need normies around. You need people that aren't like militant brained. And so if you start taking to violence to the agents, number one, you're going to lose because they have the full power of the federal government behind them. Two, you're going to lose in the public eye. Like the public isn't going to support that. They aren't. There will be memes, but like in general, like the general public will not support political violence like this. And I'm glad still. I'm glad that there's still at least political violence bad for now. But they understand this, so that's why they go protest them. They go to the Justice Center in Portland or whatever, and they go and hold signs or whatever. But they're not trying to go and kill the agents. It's insanity. Okay, which is why that whole story is just weird to me. The messaging that was written on the bullet, and then the immigrants were shot. I can't stop. Damn it! I shot 2 Mexicans. I don't know what's going on. I just can't stop killing them. There you go. I got some memes, some dark memes, but that's what the federal government's doing right now. Left-wing shooter starter kit, rooftop perch, engraved bullet casing, a tranny girlfriend, grandpa's rifle, and a black bloc outfit. But that one doesn't fit in yet, though. None of them have wore the black bloc outfit yet. But it's almost kind of like a meme of itself, of like what this government is choosing as like, this is the enemy. And it's like the left, and like this is what they're trying to like sell you as like this is what the left is. Grandpa's rifle. FBI saying shooters' rounds had anti-ICE messages, and the only anti-ICE messages was anti-ICE. It's so stupid. Like, brother, such a stupid false flag to do. Like, that was the obvious one, which should make you question the Charlie Kirk one, but I don't have enough. Candace Owens is going in on that one. Listen, you guys have been asking me about Candace Owens. I don't. Candace Owens is a useful idiot and got Trump into power. I don't like people like that can figure it out on their own. Like, I'm not going to look to Candace Owens just because like she's aligning with what I think, that I don't trust the federal government on the story. Doesn't mean I'm going to go to Candace Owens to like validate what I feel, because I already know what Candace Owens is about, and she's not about the truth, actually. She's got her own agenda, and it's nothing good. So you guys have been asking me about that, and that's my take on Candace. Is if you're a Candace fan, I guess go listen to Candace. But I'm not, and I'm not just because I think it's sus. I don't need her to like, oh yeah, Candace Owens gave me a good one today. I just don't, I'm not with that one. House Republicans are proposed putting Charlie Kirk on the dollar coins. You guys know that? You guys know they want to put Charlie Kirk on the coin? And sets bouncing on it. You think Charlie Kirk was an inside job? I mean, that's fine. I think so too, but not for that the same way Candace does. I think Candace is connecting it to Israel. I mean, I think the administration is using Mossad tactics, and they're using Israel tactics with the victimhood mindset and propaganda around it. But I don't think Israel did anything. But I think that's what Candace Owens is arguing, is that you had Israel directly connected and drawing deeper conspiracy theories. Whereas I just think it was the Trump administration somehow. I don't have the facts though. I don't have facts behind that. It's just what I think, because it's weird. So sorry, it's so many things. I'm not trying to bounce around so much, but like this, 10 cents of bouncing on it. It's just my bookmarks of things that we've collected over the past couple days. The ICE shooter, Joshua John's politics aren't what's being reported. 3 longtime friends tell me. Speaking of the ICE shooter, which he didn't shoot any ICE, he shot immigrants. The deadly sniper attack on a Dallas ICE facility seemed straightforward, with anti-ICE engraved, which it's not engraved though. It was written on Sharpie in the rain. Unused bullets recovered from the scene per the FBI, but after interviewing several of the alleged shooter's former friends, the picture isn't so clear. Within minutes of the shooting, FBI Director Kash Patel posted on X, while the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind the attack. See photo. Anti-ICE. President Trump responded to the shooting by blaming the radical left, vowing to sign another executive order to dismantle what he called domestic terrorism networks. This comes at the heels of another executive order he signed this week designating Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. Vice President J.D. Vance, meanwhile, says we know this person was politically motivated, pointing to both the inscriptions and some evidence we have not yet made public. Are they going to? Probably not. On the off chance the shooting wasn't what it looked like, I reached out to people who knew the gunman, 29-year-old Joshua John, who, by the way, this was the ICE gunman, ICE facility gunman. It's about white. Where's my story now? My bad. So many stories. Shoot. Where am I? Hello, help. Oh. God dang it. Okay, did I close my article now? God dang it. My bad. Okay, there we go. Too many tabs. Lost my spot. I gotta move it to the front so I remember where I'm at. Okay, so that's Joshua John. 3 who knew him since at least middle school agreed to speak to me on the condition that I not name them, corroborating their friendship with photos and other records. Their accounts paint a picture of someone with a vaguely libertarian bent who despised both parties. Sounds about the same. And politicians generally, including Trump, but who didn't engage with politics beyond that. Sounds like every MAGA I know, actually. And they like pretend they're not like they hate both parties, but they voted for Trump 3 times. Yeah, I think there's so many people like this. It's a sickness. It's a cognitive dissonance. Another thing that's connected, he preferred edgy humor, video games, and the message board 4chan, all of which he became increasingly steeped in as he withdrew from social life, as well as their own friendship several years ago. Now, the first thing people are going to probably attack is video games. It's not video games. It's certain games and communities around them. Okay? That could be toxic. Video games themselves are fine. I've noticed, though, if you have like a loner, and I think this could be a good profiling, but if you have like a loner gamer that doesn't have that isn't socially active, doesn't talk to anyone, and they play Rust or Team Fortress 2 only, like this guy did. So if you know those communities in gaming, they're not healthy. They're very toxic. But also in gaming too, like we were in a milsim. We were in a milsim on Arma, and boy, that was the most toxic, culty thing I've seen in video games. So I had to step away from it. I had to stop playing in the milsim. We had a good time in there, but boy, was that not fun after a while, after it started becoming more than just hanging out and playing a game. So I play so many different games. I don't play just one. I play a shitload. So I like video games, but never are they ever like a way to teach me to whatever. But that can happen if the community is toxic and you like put thousands of hours into like one specific game. Not always though. If it's a shooter, it could be a little sus. Call of Duty, I'd say less, but like Rust though. So he's going around and probably killing a bunch of the newbies. The nakeds. When you start playing Rust, it's that survival game that you get like nothing. It's like Ark has the dinosaurs in it. Rust is the one without the dinosaurs. None of his former friends believe that the anti-ICE inscription could possibly be sincere. Feeling such a serious political statement was anathema to who John was. His humor was deeply ironic, often offensive and aggressive to the point of alienation. Sounds like every shooter. Sounds like all of the shooters so far. Loner, a shitload of time into like a specific video game that has a toxic community, or online chat boards that are deep internet shit. Not deep internet, like you don't need the dark web for that one, but it's like, this is bad. 4chan's bad. There's nothing good from 4chan. Nothing good from 8chan. Reddit is like the next step from there, and that you can like, but Reddit gets you into 4chan and gets you into the deeper ones, and you should stay away from all of that. Spend no time there. But as we're learning though, these shooters are going into like the same internet shit, the same corners of the internet that is not good. Whether it be that actual, again, I'm not a religious freak or person, but I know that even though I'm not, there's still like demonic cults in terms of like they believe in like they're like satanic cults where like they worship Satan. I don't care. I don't care. I don't think like it's anything other than that's just what they believe in, and they use it for hate and they use it to commit a violence. Okay. But there's satanic cults connected to mass shootings. And we know that from the shooter in Minneapolis that killed kids at the Catholic school. Okay. And they have like this connection to each other. I don't know. I don't see anything that connected this shooter to it, but I'm saying he was in the same dark depths of the internet. So where you go if you're very lonely, like a person that is not a person that has people to talk to and has a healthy community around them are not going to 4chan, unless like maybe they're going there because they saw a meme or something and then they come out of it. But if you're spending your time in 4chan, or if you're spending most of your internet in 4chan, that's not good. He was certainly an edgelord, an irony guy. Same description as the Utah shooter. Same description. Edgelord is online speak for someone who likes to espouse edgy, nihilistic views. So it's wild how this is all becoming like news stories now. Asked about the inscription on the bullet, the friend said Josh was an edgelord who wanted someone to get blamed. I think he tried his best to write something goofy to rile people up. Just like the shooter that killed Charlie Kirk did. Remember what he said? Oh boy, if you read this, I'm gay on Fox News, I'm going to die laughing in my prison cell. Because they didn't actually believe in any of that. They just know the reaction to the news. Like, you know what I mean? These shooters understand, like I'm not saying they're smart, but they know how the news works. They know that when something happens, the right wing of America will say the left did this and vice versa. And so they're like, let's meme on that. Well, let's do it with violence and actually kill people. And like, let's make that the meme, is like the reaction to it. And we know how people are going to, and that's the irony of it. That's why when you see this, he's an edgelord irony guy. They're self-aware of the situation. And like, because everything is memed now, nothing is safe from being memed upon, even acts of violence in extreme ways. Okay. So that's what all that means, is that these shooters are self-aware of the situation. They know what their response is going to be, and they meme it. Not that they have a left wing or maybe even not even a right wing bias. It seems like this dude's would be closer to get into the right wing though. With 4chan, leftists aren't on fucking 4chan. But the irony of it all is usually used by people on the right. Usually. Another friend showed me on Facebook a post describing how John had flooded his friends' comment sections with R-word jokes. Playful shock humor, the friend said. It's just some casual R-word jokes. John's profile on the gaming platform Steam. Here's where I got my, look at that, 3,462 Team Fortress 2 hours. 6,804 hours on Rust. That boy played Rust. That he was Rust. Which should tell you everything you need to know if you know the Rust community. And you know how toxic it is. And he's got nearly 7,000 hours on it. Like I told you, video games themselves are fine. Even there's nothing wrong with Rust if you're like a casual player and you're not like in on the dark ass communities that exist on that fucking game. It's fine. Like, if you just are like, I want to check Rust out and go play it, you're fine. You know, indoctrination, you're not going to become a shooter by playing the game. It's the communities you get involved in around it, and the people that are on it are not good. Same with any video game, any game. But the fact that he's put it's nearly 7,000 hours into Rust and 3,500 into Team Fortress 2, which again do not have healthy communities anymore. They're not vibrant, healthy communities of like good people. Just being honest. So he played Rust, which that should honestly that should tell you everything. This if you are connected to the internet at all, and gaming culture or anything at all, that should just be everything you need to see. Is 6,000 hours on Rust. 3,000 on Team Fortress 2 and 1,000 on Left 4 Dead 2. Even found some time to play 3.5 hours in the past 2 weeks. That's fine. That's not weird at all. If he has 6,000 hours on, 7,000 hours on Rust, playing 3.5 hours in the past 2 weeks is easy work. That's nothing. Among the dozen or so usernames, he was one reading impeachment. When I asked if this wasn't a clear reference to anti-Trump politics, his friends recoiled at the idea that he would express opposition to Trump so sincerely and straightforwardly. Instead, they saw it as part of his broader ironic persona, poking fun at anti-Trump resistance types, which makes sense when you look at his profile picture that he was using to make fun of commies. That his profile picture was not a supportive of communists. It was to make fun of them. Like I told you guys, I can't stand that he's a Vikings fan. That ruins it for me. And look at he's wearing a Thielen jersey too. That hurts. It hurts so bad. On behalf of all Vikings fans, we don't claim him. Okay. On behalf of all Minnesota Vikings fans, we do not claim the Secretary of Defense. I just need to tell you that right now. I mean, I know it sucks really bad. It sucks. But no, I gotta find his Joshua John communist. Maybe we'll find that when we find the photo. There you go. Glorious exposition, comrade. That is not a pro-commie meme. This is not a pro-commie meme. You don't put this on if you're like communist, like, and you like believe in it. You put this as to meme on him. To shit on him. Again, irony guy, edgelord. Yeah, if you don't understand, this is why we need like millennials and Gen Z or whatever. This is our time to shine, because they don't get it. They don't get it. They being conservatives for sure, all of them. But then even our fellow liberals and people that are a little older that are trying to understand, they need to understand it too. Because like it's a lot of irony, a lot of ways. Like basically anything that happens now, my generation and younger aren't taking it serious. Most people aren't, and they make fun of it, no matter how serious it is. And not everybody, and not every situation, but most situations that happen. That's why if you see like any current event that happens, look at your timeline, you see memes, right? Well, there's levels to that too. There's levels to it, and there's deeper and darker memes and irony. And that's like what the culture is. And unfortunately, it seems we have a class of shooter of people carrying it to real life and then writing messages on bullets and shit. But none of it is like the administration is taking this as face value. Like, oh, communist symbol, he's communist. Oh, there's communist stuff on it. The hammer, the sickle, the star, the stupid hat, AK-47. This guy was a communist. He's making fun of it. Their words kind of do that, but if you don't understand irony or whatever, then you're never gonna get it. You'll never understand. Now, where's my article? God dang it, I lost it again. No, I didn't. No, I moved it to the front. My bad. Okay, so there was his profile picture that is not communist and is making fun of communism. That said, one friend recalled when Trump first came to power, John was not a fan, though he had contempt for mainstream politicians in general. His friends say that he had more of a libertarian bent, with one recalling an interest in the libertarian figure Ron Paul. Still, the friend who recounted John's dislike of Trump insisted that there was at least a kernel of seriousness to the username. If it was ironic, it's that half irony where you're half kidding, half serious, just in case. Which is a lot of my homies are like that, and I can't have conversations with them. Can't talk to them about shit because they just want to like have a half serious conversation and like make fun of it the whole time. And then when you actually go serious mode and you're like, no, actually, this is what's happening, then they want to tap out. And that's why every time I'm like, this is why I don't do it. This is why I don't fucking engage with serious topics with my friends that actually don't want to talk about them. And I don't know if you got, and this is my age, my shit, because I got friends. I have a friend. No, I do. Like, I'm in groups. I have a fantasy football group with my old friends that we served with, or my softball or whatever. Like dudes in group chats. And dudes in group chats, unless every single person in there is politically aware and usually liberal, it's conservatives. I don't think I'm in a single liberal group chat except for like my own mod team. Or like whatever. Most of them are conservatives. That you're with the boys, and whenever a serious topic comes up, you can't talk about it in a serious manner. It's got to be the ironic edgelord version of it, and then you make fun of it, and then again, like I said, when you actually like, wait guys, hold on, here's the act, because I'm reading it all to you guys all day, and by the time I'm hearing it from them, I don't want to talk about it because I've already ranted about it for hours on stream. And I've already like, I'm done with it for the day. And like, then they talk about it. And then I already know now that I can't engage because I'm more informed than they are. I'm going to come across as an asshole because I am more informed. And then they just kind of want to end it with like, let's just laugh. Or let's not take it so serious. Bro, why are you taking it so serious? And I can't do that. Like, I can't do it. So I've even told them, like, I've told my friends like, hey, I'm not going to say shit to you guys about like personal or about current events anymore because you guys want to take it serious and then you don't, and then when you realize you don't know anything, you want to like run away. And a lot of friend groups are like that. That's what the male experience is like. It's super fun. Again, I think I have like 3 or 4 male friends where it's like you can actually have a good conversation with, because it's tough, dude. It's tough. I mostly stopped talking to him when he took his 4chan irony stuff into daily interactions, one friend told me. He was becoming unbearable. Once he dropped out of college, he had no obligation to be social, and none of us reached out due to his edgelord behavior. I wasn't able to find anyone with insight into John's more recent views, something that his friends said was unsurprising, given his withdrawal from social life over the past 2 years. If you're having trouble finding people besides immediate family who knew him, that's part of the story. Every mutual friend drifted away over that kind of edgelord behavior. Because who wants to, I mean, it's just an undesirable person after a while. Especially if he's dropping R-word jokes in Facebook comments. Like, who the fuck wants that around? A fledgling version of John's humor appears in the following YouTube video, since removed. From when he was a high schooler. A tongue-in-cheek parody of tech advice videos. Oh boy, I better check this quick before we... Hold on.
Hello there, Facebook user. Are you tired of scrolling through your Facebook feed mindlessly, not knowing what the heck to do with your life? Well, there's a solution to that. You can unlike all of your crappy pages. All you have to do to unlike your crappy pages that you realize you don't like anymore is to go to your profile, select more, go down to likes, and simply hover over each page you want to unlike, and there you go.
Okay, it wasn't anything bad. I want to make sure it wasn't gonna like show some 4chan like titties or something like happened yesterday. So yeah, he just scrolling through old ass Facebook. I haven't seen Facebook look like this in so long.
More, go down to likes, and simply hover over each page you want to unlike, and there you go. you will be able to unlike all of your pages in a matter of minutes, maybe hours, possibly, depending on how much you've used this function of Facebook. Thank you, and I hope you like your day.
That was the shooter. Hello there, Facebook. The following audio recording of John bombing at a stand-up comedy was shared with me. It drew comparison to one friend to the 2019 Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix as an off-putting loner who also failed at comedy. The film culminates in a scene in which the Joker gets his revenge on the right. The second one sucks. If you watch the Joker, you don't need to see the second one. It's so bad. Oh my god, worst movie ever. First one, goated. Second one, dog shit. Don't watch it. The audio from his attempted stand-up routine where he bombs now resonates uncannily with Joker.
Hey guys, my second time doing stand-up. I was at the Dallas Comedy Club last time. Alright, so I'm going to start out with talking about something pretty serious. My buddy was talking to me the other day about reality TV, and he didn't like it too much. He said reality TV should never be played on TV. And I was all taken aback, like, whoa, dude, come on. I have some extremely bad insecurity issues about myself. They constantly eat me up alive. And reality TV is a remedy for that. That's a perfect remedy. And it applies to me, so instead of going down that old money road, I just go towards MTV. Cheers up my day. It's great. You guys should all watch MTV. I like Kim Kardashian and Girl Code and Guy Code. They're great advice shows. I heard you guys, someone say something about Tinder, but I did some research on that, and apparently it's a matchmaking website, and for those who don't know, it's, if you don't know how to start a fire, just go to choose Tinder. There's this guy named...
Fuck, yeah, that's bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. You don't know how to start a fire, use Tinder? It's pretty bad jokes. First one was don't watch reality, you watch MTV so you can watch titties instead.
Just here's some original content. I made this out of my own brain. There's this guy named Derek, and he's an avid ghost hunter. His father recently passed away. And he wanted to see if his father's ghost is still around. So he got all of his friends together, his ghost hunting friends, and his ghost hunting equipment, and he turned them on, and he's like, Father, are you still here? If you're here, make a sound. And you hear nothing. And then he waits about 30 seconds, like having the door, swings, flies open. And he starts laughing and says, oh, that's my late father for you.
Oof. Is that left wing ideology stuff? That's leftist stuff. That's yeah, Joker, little Joker guy. Wrote anti-ice on the bullet. Well, that was Anthony John. Apparently. On the recording. Okay. All right. Terry Vert said it's not a cool story, Pete. It's a cautionary tale, and it's why you should be immediately fired. Dang. Astronaut. It's a made-up story. What Hodges said is just fabrication. So it's going back to, I know I bounce around sometimes, but a lot of stuff is happening. So it's just how my brain works. But I think that's the open and close on the ice before. Oh wait, no, it's not. One more ice story before we get to this part here. We had the. Hold on, where'd that story go? Was the teacher today? Yeah, Des Moines Public School Superintendent. ICE arrests Superintendent of Iowa's largest school district. The superintendent of Des Moines Public School, Iowa's largest school district, was detained Friday morning by immigration agents, according to the Department of Homeland Security, which said the educator was in the country illegally and had existing weapon possession charges. Superintendent Ian Roberts, an educator with decades of experience who previously competed as an Olympic athlete, was arrested as part of a targeted enforcement operation and fled after U.S. Immigration and Customs enforcement officers approached him, according to statements from DHS and the Iowa Department of Public Safety. DHS said he was in possession of a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed blade hunting knife at the time of the arrest. It's a violation of federal law to own a firearm and ammunition if an individual doesn't have legal status in the U.S. The school district and DHS presented starkly divergent portraits of Roberts. DHS described him as a criminal alien and suggested he was a public safety threat. But at a news conference after his arrest, board president of Des Moines Public Schools, Jackie Norris, said the superintendent was an integral part of our school community who has shown up in big ways and small for students and staff. The arrest spurred a protest outside the federal courthouse in Des Moines. Education, not deportation. Free Dr. Roberts, read one sign carried by a demonstrator. The Iowa Board of Educational Examiners issued Roberts a license to serve as superintendent in the state in July of 2023. There is new information that has been made public that we did not know, and we have not been able to verify. Roberts oversaw over 30,000 students in the Des Moines public school system, according to district website, who had previously worked at public schools across the country. Another administrator, Matt Smith, has taken the role of interim superintendent at meeting time, according to a message posted on social media by the district earlier. Our priority is to provide a safe, secure, and outstanding education for all students and to support our students, family, and employees. Roberts' arrest comes amid the Trump administration's continued crackdown on immigration, which has seen raids on workplaces and arrests of community pillars, including a firefighter, a journalist, and a pastor. DHS says superintendent was given final order of removal in 2024. Roberts entered the U.S. on a student visa in 1999 and was given a final order of removal by an immigration judge in May of 2024. He had existing weapons charges from 2020. Des Moines Public Schools said it was unaware of the order of removal, but Roberts did inform the school board of a firearms offense related to a hunting rifle during his hiring process. The district said in a statement, Roberts provided sufficient context and explanation of the situation to move forward in the hiring process. Public records show Roberts pleaded guilty to a weapon charge in Pennsylvania in 2022. CNN has been unable to verify whether Roberts has a separate charge from 2020. The district also said Roberts submitted an employment eligibility verification form and an I-9 as part of the hiring process. The district had not been formally notified by ICE about this matter, nor had we been able to talk with Dr. Roberts since his detention, district spokesperson Phil Roeder had said. ICE enforcement and removal operations in St. Paul field office Director Sam Olson said in a statement, Robertson's arrest should be a wake-up call for our communities to the great work that our officers are doing to remove the community says this guy wasn't a threat and literally helped the community, and then you got ICE enforcement saying we are the good guys. Actually, this is crazy. ICE's online database or online detainee locator shows Roberts was born in Guyana and is being held at a county jail. Roberts was named Des Moines Public School Superintendent in 2023, according to the district's website. He was born to immigrant parents from Guyana and spent most of his formative years in Brooklyn, the website reads. Before becoming an educator, the superintendent was an Olympic athlete and he competed at the 2000 Olympic Games. Yeah, we wonder why ICE is being called Nazis, because you're arresting people that are literally like Olympic athletes and actually contribute to society. But because they're immigrants, then we have to have yeehaw cousin fucking Eddie instead. Doesn't wash himself. Roberts' long educational career has included positions in New York City, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Oakland, California, and Erie, Pennsylvania, according to LinkedIn profile. Among the crowd protesting Roberts' arrest Friday was district teacher Mary Pat Lemaire, who said she was excited to see the display of support. I just think it's really important that we take care of one another, and we seem to be at a spot where that's not happening. It's important for people to know that the general public, I think, is not okay with what's happening. Roberts has been a trusted partner, a dedicated advocate for equity, and an unwavering supporter of families and youth in Polk County. His contributions to both the Directors' Council and the wider community are immeasurable, and we stand with him during this uncertain moment. We know in advance that our families right now are afraid that if they go pick up their kids, if they send them to school, if immigrant agents are going to take their kids out of school. There are many questions, many doubts. Crazy. More ICE fuckery. Oh, Steve covered it. Oops.
We know you likely have questions, no doubt, but we ask you to bear with us, and we won't be able to address further questions at this time. And so with that, I'll turn this over to our school board chair, Jackie Norris.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Des Moines Public School community, I want to provide an update from district leadership and the board on the current situation unfolding with our superintendent, Dr. Ian Roberts. Before we begin, it seems fitting to take a page out of Dr. Roberts' book and ask the community to engage in radical empathy as we work through the situation together. Radical empathy is the recognition that we can disagree and still empathize with each other. The respect of others' humanity. This concept will be essential as we wait to learn more. We do not have all the facts. There is much we do not know. However, what we do know is that Dr. Roberts has been an integral part of our school community since he joined over 2 years ago. During his time with our district, he has shown up in ways big and small and has advocated for students and staff and begun introducing concepts that will help us reimagine education for future generations of Des Moines students. Here is what we also know. Dr. Roberts joined us in July 2023 and has held educational leadership positions in districts across the U.S. for 20 years. The Iowa Board of Educational Examiners issued Dr. Roberts a license to serve as superintendent in the state of Iowa in July 2023. There is new information that has been made public that we did not know, and we have not been able to verify as to whether that information is accurate. I'm turning it over to Interim Superintendent Matt Smith.
So it looks like the feds didn't even work with the school district. They just did this, and then like the school district's just reacting now.
We stand firm with our community, many of whom are feeling sad, outraged, and helpless. We understand as we too are devastated by the news of his detainment. However, this does not stop our important work, and we will continue to provide outstanding education to the students in our community. Know this, we have protocols and processes in place to address this type of situation. We have leaders who will continue to show up in a way that communicates care, empathy, service, and action. We will lead with love and care for the dignity of human beings in Des Moines and across our country. This is challenging on many levels, and the reality is that we may not have additional answers right away. However, the strength of Des Moines Public Schools is in its people, our leaders, educators, and staff who will continue to advance the mission on behalf of our students and families as we wait for clarity in what comes next. In the words of Dr. Roberts, if you paddle together, you will survive the tide. If you paddle alone, you will likely drown. As we move forward and learn more, we choose to paddle together. Bring to the table, Ms. Maria Alonso.
En nombre de la comunidad de las escuelas públicas de Des Moines.
Okay, well, we got it. We got it from a couple of people there. Well, we'll see what happens from this story. And the superintendent in Iowa, but yet another example of ICE detaining productive members of society. We talk about we got to get the criminals out, the MS-13 and the Tren de Aragua and all this scary shit, and like, well, that's sure happening. They are arresting teachers and people that actually have contributions to the society that are just immigrants, and that is just continuing. Or like store workers, plumbers, Home Depot workers, cashiers, doesn't matter, like, or doctors, going after all of them right now. And they can lie and say it's to fight crime, but this isn't fighting crime. None of that's fighting crime. If they're interested in fighting crime, those Epstein files would have came out already. Okay, just to close out then, not a cool story, Pete. It's a cautionary tale. Let's look this up. This is the Ben Hodges story. I should have done this when I read it earlier, but I just forget, and then it comes back into my brain later. It was back into my brain. This is 50 minutes. It's a long one. Maybe we should do this another day then. We should do 1930s Germany history. And also in 20s Italy. 20s Italy, 30s Germany. And then Spain too. A lot of parallels. Because again, the Nazis didn't just like have power and exterminate Jews and try to conquest Europe out of nowhere. It didn't just like, it's just like World War II just like happened. It came from somewhere. It started somewhere, right? And it starts in situations that you're living in now, where like shit seems bad, but yet they're not full sent into militarization completely yet, and like we're kind of in like this gray area. Well, that always happens, and then it goes from gray area to brown shirts and black shirts. It goes just like that, and then here's our Secretary of Defense.
All right, when y'all score, I want to see the gritty. Yeah, I want to see the gritty.
I don't know if any of those people there knew that was going to be the Secretary of Defense. Disgracing my team. So all in all, guys, the John Solomon report, which this guy is a clown. Okay, there's one point where this guy was like a respected investigative journalist, but that is no longer. I think he was. I can't remember when. It was like a while ago now. But he started posting. He started politicizing his investigative reports, and that's why he didn't. That's why he got fired from all these places. And he's not credible at all anymore. He's a hack. He was credible for like a period of time, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe, not even, I don't know. I just remember him being like a credible source back in the day. But he's gone full right-wing grift. Just the news, okay? So I went through the article before attacking the source. You can rewind the stream if you would like to and watch us break it down. Broke down his article from Just the News and the January 6th lies that are happening. But like with anything that I talk about, there's a bunch of other things happening. Arrest them all. They're intentionally obstructing justice. At the Broadview ICE facility, ICE agent tried to run dozens of protesters over with an SUV as we walked on public crosswalk.
Up with liberation! Up with liberation! Down, down with deportation! Down, down with deportation! Up with liberation!
But they got stuffed animals. So that she's actually running for Congress. Yeah, in Illinois. I think you're going to see that continue. You're going to have activists running for office in the Democratic Party, but I mean, that's going to be that's the only way to get away from the establishment ones. And it is what it is. Some activists, politicians are going to sound silly too, or not know what they're talking about. Look no further than Russia's invasion of Ukraine and how cooked that has been for like left-wing activists and how bad they have that one because NATO bad, so they don't know what they're talking about, right? So definitely that's just because like they're like a more progressive person. They still have to know what they're talking about and they can't use their feelings only, okay? So it's important to make sure that even though it's going to be a progressive person, which is like in general what I would support over having basically like an establishment Republican Democrat that is happening. You still got to be critical of any of the progressives too, because like there are a lot of them are populists, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but they got to know what they're talking about overall. If they're only based in one area, like that's not good either. Like if they only know what they're talking about for one issue, it's a problem. They should know what they're talking about for multiple issues. Veterans lecturing me and other gun owners that we need to get weapons of war off the streets.
Hello, I am a husband and a father of 3 kids and a veteran of the war in Afghanistan where I carried weapons like this. I would like to make a statement that sometimes boneless chicken wings are better than bone-in chicken wings, but it depends on what kind of sauce you use because it's kind of like chicken nuggets. Thank you.
I agree. And not all flavors of like boneless chicken wings are the same either. Like some are different. You got to like really make sure you get the right kind because you could like take a fat L, or if like the place doesn't cook the chicken wings properly and then you're just eating like cardboard. And then it's not even fun because then you don't have the bone in. Oversight Democrats just released this new document revealing that Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk are in the Epstein files. Uh-oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Epstein, Maxwell, Adam Perilang, Prince Andrew, bodyguard. Monday, November 27th, 2017, New York. 8 a.m. breakfast, Reed, Weingarten. Did anyone ever think if they're like if they're a billionaire, then it's assumed they went to the island? Like Elon Musk to island December 6th, is this still happening? Breakfast party with Bill Gates. Invited Ron Barron and Josh Harris, awaiting reply. Okay. Oversight Democrats. Is this just from the Maxwell trial? This is why we need all of them. I hate this. Why are things redacted? Reminder blank, and this is I hate that. I hate that. Like we're missing information. We don't like by default we don't have the full story no matter what, and then we get 6 pages of you see Elon's name in it, but like wow, Look at all that. We can do a lot with that, can't we? I can't remember if this was just from the Maxwell trial and like they're just reminding everyone of like what was in it. This looks like Maxwell trial stuff. Okay. Well, I'm going to give this a little bit before I give thoughtful analysis on all this, because 6 pages without anything, like, where did this, is this from the Maxwell trial? Is this new information? There's no cover photo or a cover page. Everything's redacted. Okay. I mean, that's less significant than the book was, and having like the last significant thing that we got about Epstein was the book and Trump's signature and the image he drew. I don't know about this. I don't know what this is. We need more time with whatever this drop is. Or why are we getting the Epstein files in drops? Like, what is happening? Just drop, give it all. What are you doing? Unironically, this is how you alienate Republicans like my dad, who has a whole thing about how Lakota and Apache chiefs were actual warriors gunned down by drunk cowards. Facts. I actually saw, I didn't see anyone really agree with Pete Hegseth on this. Usually on my posts when I'm shitting on the administration, this is going back to the Battle of Wounded Knee really quick. Or the Massacre of Wounded Knee. I shouldn't have read that. The Massacre. That Pete Hegseth put out that we went into a little earlier. But yeah, I didn't see anybody like saying, yeah, Pete Hegseth is right. I heard like so even MAGA cultists weren't all full supportive of this at all. I think this was like universal condemnation. Anyways, okay. We'll have more for you guys tomorrow. More tomorrow, guys. The news isn't going anywhere. Not going anywhere. We got Dead Space for you tonight, though. I got Dead Space on my gaming channel. It went great last night. We had almost 1,000 viewers tuned in. Back to normal. They don't want to see any more 2K, I guess. So we're back on the horror games. We beat Silent Hill F. I gave it a 7.6 after it all. Still worth your time, but like you gotta watch like 4 or 5 endings to get the full story. But no one's gonna play it 4 or 5 times unless they will over time, or if you're like a diehard Silent Hill fan. But I'm not gonna spoil it, but like just the ending you get was just not suffice, and that's all I'll say. So that's why it's a lower rating. But anything above a 7, you know, I recommend playing. If anything like 8 to 9, then you should get it. But I mean, if you could probably wait for this to go on sale. You'd probably wait for Silent Hill F to go on sale. So it's not like a must buy. So that's why I gave it like a 7.6. But Dead Space is great. It's a classic. I'm playing it right now because we're going to be playing the new game Chronos, which came out. Chronos: The New Dawn. It's Dead Space-like, but it's a new one, and it looks even scarier. So we're going to be playing that after we beat Dead Space. Probably not tonight. We'll probably beat Dead Space tomorrow night, so we can probably start Chronos Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. Probably Monday. I have softball, though, so we got to see. But anyways, this is the new game. We were leading up to that one. I got a bunch of horror games. I bought a bunch yesterday because it is spooky season. We play horror games on the channel during October. It's September. We started early. Never a wrong idea to start early. Got a bunch of games, though. Got Evil Within 2, Mortuary Assistant, Quiet Place Road Ahead, all of the Resident Evils. Every Resident Evil. All the residents of all the evils. And then more than that, too. But that's just what I have installed right now. But I have a fuckload of games. And I'm just going to reinstall old horror games and play them. So, but that's the newer ones I got for this year. And we'll be running through them. Obviously, can't do it all in one stream, but like over time throughout the month of October and even into November, too, because November is a little spooky, too. But we'll be playing through that, and I hope to see you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are great. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so. Join the Discord server. Link is in the description for your updates for your stream. To make sure you guys are in the right place at the right time when the stream begins. I appreciate all you guys' support. Thank you to all the members on the stream. We had 2 new members during the stream. We got Champagne Poppy with a $2 that according to the chat, I'm gay. Sad now. Yup, sent to $4.99 said, want to hear some funny Turning Point USA forgot to trademark their name, so it's not owned by a black man. Satora Ripple, thank you for the gifted. I appreciate that. Scary Liberal with the 5 said, if we want a viable third party, we will have to build one ourselves. Wishing for something never makes it happen. Yeah, we need a billionaire though. You need billionaires. Unfortunately, that's the issue, right? Obviously you got like the people that want more parties don't like billionaires. So, but it's like that's the reality. Who else is gonna fund it? You need like I think Taylor Swift. There you go. There's a billionaire for you. If Taylor Swift can help fund a multiple party and we can get some motion going, then we have a chance. But without money, Republicans keep lying. BS. You choose to be everything opposite. If Trump declared Russia and roulette with the loaded 45 was bad for you, most of you would rush out to your nearest store. J6 was a setup. Thank you for your money. If your comments result in me getting $10 every time, then we'll accept that. I'm betting that Kash Patel told the officers write something anti-ICE on the bullets. For the 10/18 No Kings protests, Twin Cities suggestion, Lyon University, Ave Capitol to Minneapolis City Hall, all day long. And then Gene with the 5 gifteds. I appreciate that at the very end. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll be back tomorrow. I will do Saturday streams are back. I'm going to do them. I've been streaming gaming on Saturdays, but we'll have a news tomorrow too, because a lot of people might have missed the news of the week, and I'm sure something nuts will happen again tomorrow. It's just the way things are going. Then what did we got? Next week we got Pete Hegseth's meeting with generals happening. Trying to think of anything else coming up. Just chaos eventually. So we'll cover it. Don't worry. Thank you guys again. See ya. Peace.